Villains are the result of evil ambitions and desires. Those primal desires destroy civilization and cause chaos in society. Dongjin is a villain just like them. He has only one reason for his existence: class. Right now it's filled with the noisy chatter of conversation. Dongjin sat as still as a statue, listening to the students around him argue passionately about some old-ass movie. The laughter mixed with fragmented arguments was like demonic whispers piercing his ears. Dongjin lifted his eyelids, his gaze sweeping over them without emotion. A sarcastic comment rose in his mind. They're all pathetic. In an instant, the classroom scene was no different from a living hell, along with a terrifying thought from Dongjin. His whole body was stained a brilliant red. His lips moved, spitting out cold words. You don't deserve salvation. You're just obstacles in my path to find the ruler of time. After speaking, Dongjin scanned the area, observing his handiwork one last time. The classmates who were laughing just a second ago were now all lying on the floor. Even the beautiful Jahyun had met a tragic end, her eyes wide open in death. But from her cold corpse, a voice called his name. That call unintentionally pulled him back to reality. The flesh and blood Jahyun leaned in close and called his name. But Dongjin, bored, turned his head away. She got heated and yelled, expressing her surging annoyance. As Jahyun spoke, she suddenly switched gears with a bold assumption that Dongjin liked her. The constant nagging buzzed in his ear, making layers of killing intent rise within him. Jahyun, completely unaware of the danger, was still holding a grudge. Just then, Sangnam cheerfully ran in, calling out Dongjin's name and breaking the awkward atmosphere. He smiled as brightly as a spring breeze to check on his friend. Despite the fact that his supposed best friend wouldn't even give him a glance, Sangnam chirped on like a sparrow. While Dongjin, losing patience, cursed under his breath. Jahyun had had enough. She had to speak up and school him. You always get ignored, so why do you even bother being friendly? Sangnam, being called out so directly, snorted in contempt. After that, the two started tearing into each other to defend their own points of view. Dongjin, his head buzzing from the noise, got bored. He flicked his thumb with a snap. He twirled his index finger. While the argument next to him reached its climax, the ballpoint pens in front of Dongjin were suddenly lifted by an invisible force. Sangnam, unaware of the imminent danger, was still grinning like an idiot. After his confirming question, Dongjin immediately turned the ballpoint pen into a weapon and launched it at his target. Its high speed turned it into a dart, easily creating a hole in the middle of Sangnam's forehead. Even Jahyun beside him met a similar fate. Dongjin, having solved the noise problem, calmly cursed the two talking machines as idiots. As he finished speaking in the classroom aisle, two fresh corpses lay blocking the way. The remaining students were so scared their jaws nearly hit the floor. As if on cue, they all made the same jaw-dropped expression. But they couldn't hold that horrified state for long. Even Dongjin realized the shockwave from the time loop was coming. He just felt a slight sensation in his mind and let it engulf him. Time, like a heavy carriage, reversed step by step. It rewound to the moment Dongjin brushed off his hands after finishing the deed. Then it pulled back to the moment Jahyun was hit, a little further to when Sangnam was fatally stabbed. Then time visited this moment the two pens were lifted. Finally, it found its endpoint to reverse to the moment Dongjin heard his name being called. His eyes were glazed over as if this scene was all too familiar. Once again, he had to listen to the same old boring lines from Sangnam, making Dongjin so angry he gritted his teeth. Grind. Next, of course, was still Jahyun, approaching to prepare for a super intense showdown. Not wanting to be provoked into a murderous rage by the noise, Dongjin decided to leave the classroom, to the astonishment of everyone. But the slamming of the door somewhat expressed his dissatisfied mood. Sangnam was unfazed. He still clenched his fist, showing his determination to win this friendship. But Jahyun's reminder that he was a nobody made Sangnam wilt like a plant in the frost. Dongjin, unaware of these exchanges, was still striking a pose in the empty hallway. He had more power than anyone, but he could do nothing, because every time Dongjin killed someone, someone else would rewind time. No matter who they are, they're nearby. No matter who they are, I will kill them all. To escape this damn time loop, Dongjin was determined to find and kill them. He was sure he could do it. Dongjin walked down the hallway filled with countless doubts. Down the corridor. He had checked many times, but realized the thing manipulating time was not in this classroom. Even when Dongjin experimented in the 9th grade class, it was the same. He decided to shift his search target to the 10th graders and the freshmen. He was sure he would find them after killing them one by one. At some point, Dongjin found himself in the deserted, closed-off bathroom. A standard case of school violence was taking place here. The one being bullied was Junkyu. After he expressed his difficulties, he immediately got a punch to the gut from Hyun-soo. Both him and his friend John-hee next to him casually discussed the remaining cigarettes, leaving Junkyu trembling on the floor. Though terrified, he still gathered his courage to refuse to spend money on them. And what Junkyu got in return was the merciless knee to the face. His body slammed hard against the wall. Hyunsoo scowled and warned, "Last time I told you to bring 10 cigarettes. Junkyu, flustered, expressed that he couldn't afford that. Hearing that, he fixed his dark gaze on him. Then Hyunsoo, with a fake smile, uttered demonic words. "Why don't you just go die, you bastard?" And so the sounds of curses and punches echoed, intermittently throughout the small bathroom. They echoed outside, but no one intervened. Dongjin, accidentally caught in this mess, looked rather unhappy. He lowered his eyes and pressed his lips together, as if trying to restrain the demon inside him from bursting out. But in the end, Dongjin still hesitantly approached Hyunsoo's battlefield. Seeing the meddler, he glared warily. Seeing the opponent get closer, Hyunsoo growled, "Get lost." But Dongjin ignored the mosquito-like buzzing. Being ignored for the first time made him even more pissed. Hyunsoo decided to drop his current prey and switch to a new target. Next, he grabbed Dongjin's head and slammed it against the wall in a rage. However, the one in Hyunsoo's grasp reacted rather indifferently. Dongjin silently absorbed all the colorful language from him, then calmly turned his head back. Seeing him smirk, Hyunsoo's brow furrowed tightly. He decided to throw a punch to teach this punk, who didn't know his place, a lesson. But if Dongjin let him land a hit that easily, he wouldn't be the main character. He shot Hyunsoo a death glare from the corner of his eye, then swung his arm, giving him a push with no strength held back. Hyunsoo's back hit the wall to the astonishment of his cronies. As for Dongjin, he held the same pose he'd just struck. He coldly watched his opponent spit out a mouthful of syrup, then collapsed to the ground like a boneless doll. Hyunsoo was knocked unconscious in an instant like that, while Junhee was trying to help his buddy Junkyu, was somewhat scared of Dongjin's strength. His lips moved for a long time, before he managed to get out a dry "thank you." But he gave a meaningful smile, then turned his brutality towards Junkyu. He flinched and immediately looked up to question him, but that reaction in front of Dongjin was still too slow. Splashes of bright red blood quickly covered the wall. Then, in his murderous state, he advanced towards Junhee. He no longer had his arrogant attitude from before. He was so scared his face contorted as he begged for his life. But before Dongjin could finish off this last target, the familiar feeling of weightlessness returned. Even though his lips still held that familiar, terrifying smile, it became distorted by the power of time. In the blink of an eye, Dongjin returned to the starting point. As the familiar curses from Hyunsoo rang in his ears, the all-too-familiar process repeated itself. He came up from behind and yanked Dongjin's hair back. He remained as emotionless as ever, but inside he was furiously cursing this garbage time loop. But surprisingly, Hyunsoo suddenly let go. He noticed the Kim Dongjin name tag on his chest. Hyunsoo couldn't help but be curious about what class he was in. The problem was Dongjin's indifference infuriated him. In the end, he still chose to solve it by raising his fist. This time, Dongjin accepted it and took a punch to the face. Hyunsoo, gaining momentum, unleashed his fury and landed another blow on the other side of his face. Dongjin was like a senseless wooden puppet, taking the relentless damage. It seemed his expression further stimulated, the adrenaline surging in Hyunsoo's blood. He kept pummeling him until Dongjin staggered. He had to lean on the sink to keep from collapsing. Dongjin lowered his head, constantly reassuring himself to stay calm to lure out the time controller. But just then, a disturbance in the air caught his attention. It turned out to be Sang-nam, who rushed in following the noise to get revenge for his friend. With just one knee, he knocked out Hyunsoo. Sang-nam, full of righteous anger, clenched his muscular fist and declared war. The others, seeing their leader unconscious, turned pale. Sang-nam ignored them and rushed to check on his good friend. Though his face was somewhat bright, Dongjin's heart was anything but cheerful. Seeing the corner of his mouth turn up, Sang-nam was as amazed as if he'd seen the eighth wonder of the world. He was so scared his soul left his body. He had to constantly check Dongjin's body. Annoyed, he broke his rule and spoke to reassure Sang-nam, saying he was fine and wanted to go home early. This request was like a calming charm, plastered right on his face. Sang-nam quickly carried Dongjin on his back and left overjoyed. For a moment, he thought he should be grateful to this guy. But Dongjin immediately reminded himself not to falter, because he was a villain. A girl was alone in her room. Lifting a small dumbbell, she approached the door and asked, "Who is it?" Dongjin's voice came from outside. "I came up to tell you you're being too loud." The girl replied with a puzzled look. "I don't think I was being that loud." The girl quickly approached the door and explained gently, "Wait, look, I wasn't doing any strenuous exercises." She opened the door and greeted him politely, "Hello?" But Dongjin, standing outside, his body glowing, stared with terrifyingly wide eyes without saying a word. "The people I've killed so far are all residents of this building?" "Some middle schoolers and classmates. But it was useless. I've conducted a few experiments on the time loop." First, continuous activation of the time loop. Dongjin sat in the classroom, staring at his phone and calculating in his head. "First, let's check the rewind time." He quickly glanced at Sang-nam, who was focused on writing, sitting below. Experiment participant. Na Sang-nam. Suddenly, a bullet from a distance. It flew straight towards him at an incredible speed. Experiment start. The bullet instantly pierced through Sang-nam's head decisively. As soon as he slumped onto the desk, Dongjin immediately raised his watch to start the timer. Time of death, 15:41:30. Then he quickly focused on calculating and analyzing the data. Return time is 15:40:25. About a minute ago, let's confirm. As Dongjin snapped his fingers, Sang-nam immediately woke up, confirming. Then he slumped onto the desk unconscious once again. In an instant, Dongjin quickly looked at his phone screen and carefully calculated the time. Return time is 15:38:21. This time it's about 2 minutes. This made him ponder. About 1 to 2 minutes. So if I keep activating the time loop, will time rewind indefinitely? He glanced over at Jong-in, preparing for his next experiment. Experiment participant Jong-in, experiment start. And just like that, Jong-in quickly slumped onto the desk, to the shock and horror of his surrounding friends. At that moment, Dongjin's entire body suddenly froze and became unusually heavy. Though his breathing became heavy, he still focused on studying the data. Successfully executed the time loop 5 times in a row. Time rewind is about 8 minutes. Suddenly, drops of fresh red blood splattered onto the table. Dongjin's expression was one of complete shock, with syrup still on his nose. Sang-nam jumped up in panic and shouted, "Dongjin, you're bleeding." His eyebrows furrowed. His face showed extreme worry and tension. Dongjin quickly signaled for him and he fell to the floor. Then he cursed under his breath. Annoying dog. Experiment result time can be rewound indefinitely. However, I will probably get seriously injured. Successfully executed 5 times in a row. The second experiment is self-liberation. Dongjin's body floated in midair with a troubled mind. If I kill someone, the time rewinds. So what if I kick the bucket? He closed his eyes, his mind swirling with tangled thoughts. If those people see it, how will they react? He quickly raised his hand. A stream of light, cold and blue, suddenly enveloped his hand. Dongjin's eyes widened, his expression extremely serious. If time doesn't rewind? Then without hesitation, he immediately pressed his hand hard against his chest. Wouldn't that be a pointless death? Dongjin's fierce power created a booming sound that echoed through the space. A dog immediately bolted, its steps quick and hurried. Sang-nam's face was full of confusion as he asked, "Hey, Chaco, where are you going?" In front of him was Dongjin's body, lying paralyzed and motionless on the ground. Sang-nam's eyes suddenly became stunned. His face froze as if he still didn't understand what was happening. Seeing Dongjin lying there unconscious, his body covered in wounds, he shouted in panic, "Dongjin!" Dongjin's eyes fluttered open, as if slowly regaining consciousness after waking from a deep coma. He slowly opened one eye, his expression dazed, half awake, half dreaming. Sang-nam quickly carried him on his back, hurrying off while encouraging Dongjin. "We're almost at the hospital, hold on a little longer." Dongjin lowered his head, gritting his teeth and blaming himself. "I can't control my own power. Am I afraid of death?" His voice suddenly rang out decisively. "Stop." Sang-nam immediately asked gently, "Okay, Dongjin? Are you okay?" He immediately put Dongjin down, then sincerely advised, "Let's go to the hospital, you're badly hurt." But Dongjin's eyes widened and he spoke aggressively, "Get lost." Then he immediately dashed into the street. Without a moment's hesitation, he immediately rushed out and stood in front of the truck, speeding towards him at a horrifying rate. Dongjin's eyes narrowed, his gaze filled with extreme determination. Seeing this, Sang-nam couldn't help but stare his eyes wide in shock. The truck kept coming, slamming into and throwing Dongjin's body to one side, splattering blood everywhere. Offing myself also triggers the time loop. That son of a bitch won't even let me die. One strange thing is, Sang-nam immediately carried him on his back and hurried off looking stressed. "Let's get to the nurse's office first, I'm on my way. Hold on tight." This action of his made Dongjin wonder. I don't understand why this guy has to be so kind. Sang-nam hurried off with rushed steps, not wasting a second, not a minute. His expression became increasingly anxious and extremely scared. "Move, I'm in a hurry!" As he rushed by, he unexpectedly ran into the bully Hyun, Shion, who was forcing Minho to kneel in the middle of the hallway. Despite wearing the horse head, Minho couldn't hide the stunned astonishment on his face. Sang-nam ran past without hesitation, accidentally bumping into and knocking Minho aside. Minho's body began to sway, losing his balance and stumbling, and so he tumbled to the floor, lying motionless as if all life had left him. Along the school's deserted hallway, the air seemed to turn cold. Minho was surrounded and being bullied by a group of delinquents, forced to neigh like a horse. Hyunjun took out his phone to take a picture, laughing with amusement. "Look at this idiot." On the phone screen was a picture of Minho's face photoshopped onto a horse's head. Behind him were Min-ji and Min-hyun, striking an incredibly ridiculous pose. Min-ho couldn't take it anymore and blurted out, "It hurts! This hurts!" Min-ji frowned, annoyed. "Do it right." Despite Min-ho being on all fours on the floor, one of the bullies jeered, "I told you it's easier to wear this." He immediately threw the fake horse head at Min-ho's face, then continued to mock and taunt him. "Doesn't it look good?" At that moment, two students slowly walked by. Seeing this, Hyun-chan gave an order, as if treating Min-ho like an animal. "Hey, freshmen are passing by, greet them." Min-ho could only resign himself and obediently follow his command. "Hey kids, spare a carrot for me." Suddenly, the sound of rushed footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. Sang-nam's panicked face appeared as he shouted, "Move!" Then he rushed past. Accidentally, he bumped into Min-ho, causing his body to tilt to one side. He swayed, losing his balance, and stumbled, lying motionless on the floor. The bully smirked with glee. "Hey, is he dead?" Meanwhile, Hyun-chan looked completely bewildered. "What the hell?" He stared in the direction Sang-nam ran, then asked, "Freshman." Hyun-soo spoke up quickly, his expression extremely serious. Hyun-cheon immediately turned his head and asked, "What's wrong with you?" Hyun-soo's eyebrows furrowed. His voice was filled with rage. "Be careful of the guys who just ran by. Those bastards beat me up and ran off." Cheon-hee immediately said, "They said they were going to the nurse's office." Hyun-cheon quickly approached, his eyes wide as he angrily scolded, "You idiot! Are you just going to let yourself get beat up right after starting school?" "Who are they?" Hyun-soo's expression suddenly became extremely tense and heavy. "I only know the guy in the back is named Kim Dong-jin. I don't know what class he's in." He immediately looked up and warned cautiously, "The fat one knows how to fight. Boss, be careful." Hyun-cheon stood up straight, his hands in his pockets, and spoke with an arrogant air. "You think you need to say that to the second strongest guy in school? You pathetic loser." Meanwhile, Min-ho, lying motionless on the floor, heard the whole story and couldn't help but worry. "Those guys are in trouble." Hyun-jun immediately glanced at him and growled, "Hey, you mutt!" After Min-ho immediately jumped up, Hyun-jun immediately gave a stern order. "Bring those guys here in 5 seconds, now." 4. Min-ho slowly pulled on the horse head, his face weary. "I'm tired," he said. Seeing his hesitant resistance, Hyun-cheon quickly counted 4. The guy stood with his arms crossed. His voice became as frightening as a threat. Min-ho immediately stood up and ran off awkwardly, having no other choice. I get it." Meanwhile, Sang-nam had quickly carried Dong-jin to the school's nurse's office. He suddenly lay sprawled on the floor, his weak voice echoing. It turns out Dong-jin had already dealt with him, then coldly turned and left before entering the room. "So annoying, I told you to put me down." Walking forward, he suddenly turned his head to look back. He stared intently at the nurse's office and wondered to himself, "Have I never killed the nurse before?" After that, Dong-jin silently walked over and reached for the doorknob. At the same time, Sang-nam was deep in a dream, drool constantly spilling onto the floor. Min-ho hurried over to Sang-nam. His gaze was dazed and confused as he thought to himself, "Why is he lying here?" Min-ho patted Sang-nam's shoulder while urgently calling for him to wake up. Hey, wake up!" He suddenly glanced in another direction, then hesitated, wondering, "What should I do? Where did the other guy go?" Suddenly, an immense pressure emanated from the nurse's office. Min-ho's eyes widened, his face filled with a shocking, hair-raising astonishment. So he cautiously peeked inside the room. He whispered, his face full of fear, "Ma'am?" His gaze suddenly froze, his entire face tensing up as he witnessed the scene before him. What met his eyes was Dong-jin's bloody hand, glowing and illuminating the entire room. His eyes immediately widened in terror. His whole body seemed to freeze in that horrifying moment. Like a haunting obsession, his heart seemed to clench, each beat filled with fear. Despite the threatening countdown from Hyun, Cheon still echoing in his head, Min-ho still ran away in a panic. 5, 4, 3, I get it. He kept running, his body stumbling with effort. Min-ho's body suddenly stopped as if he sensed something. An extremely strong pressure suddenly emanated from behind, making his heart feel like it was about to explode. Min-ho's eyes widened with a completely blank stare. This feeling? His hands trembled uncontrollably, almost to the point of numbness. It's like déjà vu. At that moment, the image of a bloody corpse suddenly flashed in his mind, along with exhausted, gasping breaths. The person's face was pale, blood still on the corner of their mouth, like a haunting image etched deep in his mind. Min-ho's vision suddenly darkened. His gaze became increasingly terrified. Why didn't I? Suddenly, a hand from behind swung and slapped him straight across the face. Seeing Min-ho clutch his face, Hyun-cheon furiously yelled, "Hey, you punk!" Min-ho's weak voice cried out in pain. "It hurts so much." Hyun-cheon's face scrunched up in annoyance as he said, "Did you see a ghost? Why'd you space out like that?" Min-hyun quickly grabbed his sleeve and said irritably, "Don't say that." She then brought up the past. "Don't you remember he saw a dead body before? Hyun-cheon, completely unconcerned, said in a mocking tone. When you were riding him. Min-hyun coldly turned and walked away, her face filled with indignation. I don't know, this is annoying. I'm out. Hyun-cheon once again ordered Min-ho. Bring them to me after lunch. He then glanced at him and cursed. Hey, you mutt, why aren't you answering? Min-ho's eyes were wide with shock, as if he hadn't escaped the horror from before. Ah, yes, sir. After that, Hyun-cheon's gang immediately turned and left. Just when it seemed he was free, the fake horsehead suddenly flew from a distance and slammed right into Min-ho's face violently. Su immediately rushed past and smirked arrogantly. Tell the fat kid he's dead meat, he said boastfully with extreme smugness. I'm gonna have a death match with him. John-hee immediately chimed in. That punk! Ho's expression then fell into deep thought. His eyes widened, expressing bewildered shock. It can't be. Thinking about what just happened made him panic, with a mess of thoughts in his mind. This has happened before, Min-ho affirmed to himself. Something similar to this, I'm sure. Dongjin stared intently at his planner. He held a pen, crossing out the names of those whose research was complete. The pen in his hand moved slightly. One by one, the names were crossed out. Then he quickly closed the notebook. Dongjin's eyes lowered slightly, his gaze distant as he silently pondered. I should go back to Daewon School again. He immediately jumped, his body launching into the air decisively. In a flash, Dongjin was at the Daewon schoolyard. The teachers and other students. The students here are still working hard and focused on the lesson. The students are intently focused on their work. The room is so quiet. You can hear the sound of pens scratching on paper. Dongjin suddenly pushes the door open and enters the classroom. His gaze is glued to the notebook in his hand. Seeing this, the teacher asks, confused, Who are you? He then angrily shouts, What school is this student from? Dongjin glances at the teacher, with a sharp, terrifying look in his eyes. A male student jumps to his feet with a completely stunned expression. Kim Dongjin, what are you doing here? Another male student also turns his head, looking on in bewildered confusion. Kim Dongjin? Dongjin slowly closes his eyes, silent and without a word. He suddenly bares his teeth in a grin, a smile so horrifying, it plunges the entire class into an indescribable sense of unease. Hello? Dongjin keeps that grotesque smile on his face. At the same time, an immense pressure suddenly erupts and envelops the entire room. A source of light. A dazzling glare suddenly surrounds Dongjin's body, along with his horrifying wide-eyed stare. Suddenly, a pen on his desk flies up on its own, leaving a female student utterly stunned. Immediately after, all the school supplies simultaneously float in midair, leaving the whole class astonished and shocked. The school supplies gradually gather together, then fly straight towards Dongjin. The eyes of the students in the class are so stunned they're frozen solid. No way! What is he? The teacher's face contorts as he yells, You brat, what do you think you're doing? Dongjin doesn't even bother, but speaks sternly like giving an order. Come out! His eyes are wide, filled with a murderous aura. He stares intently into the void. Ruler of time. The light swirling around his body grows more intense, radiating an overwhelming power, plunging the room into extreme tension. The teacher rushes over, pointing a finger straight at Dongjin's face and screaming, What kind of crazy nonsense are you spouting? Get out of my classroom right now. The pupils in Dongjin's eyes flash. He curses, his face dead serious. You useless piece of trash. The teacher's eyebrows immediately furrow. His anger boils over as he screams, What did you say, you little brat? As soon as the words left his mouth, a series of pens immediately shot towards him. His eyes bulge frozen stiff. His heart feels like it's about to stop as he sees the sharp pen tips rushing towards his face. The pen tips fly forward, piercing through his face, leaving gaping holes with blood splattering everywhere, creating an absolutely horrifying scene. The teacher's legs begin to wobble. He staggers as if he has no strength left. Then in an instant, he collapses to the floor. The students in the class run for their lives, their faces filled with shock and terror. Dongjin's face is splattered with blood. His eyes are wide and a murderous voice rings out, Die. Outside, the hallway is as quiet as ever. But inside, the classroom is drowning in a suffocating nightmare. The sound of splattering blood echoes incessantly. The glass doors are quickly stained bright red, and the metallic smell of blood rises, filling the entire room. Meanwhile, Minho is still consumed by a gnawing fear. I can't shake this feeling. I can't even swallow my food. His gaze drifts down to the tray on the table, the food still untouched. Hyun-cheon rushes over, tilts his head up, and taunts him. What's wrong, food no good? You must be lonely, huh? He smirks with a sickeningly sweet expression. Want to eat with us tomorrow? He drapes an arm over his shoulder. Then he leans in close to Minho's face, smiling and saying, How about it, Minho? Minho closes his eyes and forces a strained smile, replying, No, it's fine. Hyun-cheon immediately grabs his hair and brutally shoves his head down into the food tray. He leans in close again and asks, So how'd it go? Minho struggles to reply, That freshman. I told him the other guy was hurt and went home early. Hyun-cheon yanks his head up and snarls, I don't need the other guy. He then gives an order, bring the big guy here. Minho's weak voice replies, I understand. Hyun-cheon's ferocity causes the surrounding students to just silently look away, keeping their heads down, not daring to glance even once. Hyun-cheon puts a hand on Minho's shoulder and asks curiously, Hey, you mutt! No Kang Minho! What did you see, a ghost or something? Minho denies it, no. Hyun-cheon continues to probe. Then why were you standing in front of the body of that guy, who supposedly offed himself? Minho answers with a hesitant, flustered tone, it's just a little pitiful. Hyun-cheon turns to call out to the male students at the next table, Hey, Class 6. He glares and smirks, mocking them. This mutt says he's lonely. Wasn't it because he killed the other guy? Why are you guys acting like this? You feel ashamed too. Hearing that the male students can only sit meekly, not daring to say a word, Hyun-cheon quickly brushes past Minho and says scornfully, Just cower and eat up, you bastard, let's go. He quickly orders his underlings, You guys gather up. The underlings reply, All right. Hyung, what about me? Hyun-cheon says coldly, You stay away. The underling continues to plead, Why Hyung? Let me do it. Afterwards, Minho walks quietly through the schoolyard, looking lost and soulless. Each of his steps is heavy, as if carrying an invisible burden, weighing down his whole body. His eyes are dark, reflecting the fear and emptiness deep within his mind. Minho is about to take a step when he suddenly freezes. He glances to the side with a bewildered look. What catches his eye is a bird lying motionless on the grass. His eyes suddenly widen, filled with terror. Minho stares at the bird lying on the ground. At this moment, the image of a male student's bloody corpse suddenly floods his mind. He is shocked as he recalls the previous events. I just wanted to save the guy who was about to die. At that time, Minho rushed in to save him, but in the end, he was completely powerless. But no matter how many times I try to save him, Minho realized in a panic that when his hand touched the other male student's body, it would return to the exact moment he died. He resentfully blamed himself. Why do I have such a useless power? 2 streams of tears slowly roll down, reflecting the pain piling up in his soul. I don't need this power anymore. Minho gently places the bird in his hand. Suddenly, a fierce red light unexpectedly emits from the bird's body. The moment Minho lifts the bird in his hand, a dazzling red light bursts around his body. Suddenly, the deafening sound of lightning flashes around him. Minho glares, his face focused to the point of extreme tension. Then he lets out a sigh of relief. The bird's eyes slowly flutter open. Its body trembles slightly, then begins to move. Then it spreads its wings wide, its face radiant and bright. Minho's eyes are full of affection as he asks, Hey, are you okay? And so the bird, in the palm of his hand, gently spreads its wings and flies up into the high sky. Minho remains seated silently, his eyes following the bird's path. The bird that was just lying motionless on the grass, now, its wings are soaring strongly in the vast blue sky. At this moment, the image of the male student standing on the rooftop, ready to end his own life, suddenly floods Minho's mind. Just like that bird, I wish I could save people too. His eyes suddenly droop, his gaze choked with a hidden sorrow. At this moment of contemplation, Nam suddenly appears from behind and calls out loudly, Kang Minho sunbainim. Minho turns his head and asks with a worried expression, When did you get here? Did you see that? Nam replies with an innocent and carefree tone, What? What are you talking about, sunbainim? Minho quickly brushes it off. No, it's nothing. Nam, unconcerned, says, Let's go. In a small corner of the schoolyard, a place few people ever go, Hyun-cheon's gang of bullies is already waiting. The silence is so profound that you can hear the wind rustling through the leaves. Hyun-cheon is puffing on a cigarette when he suddenly squints and glances behind him. Seeing that Minho has brought Nam, he blows out a puff of white smoke, like a provocation. Hyun-cheon quickly pinches the cigarette between 2 fingers, slightly tilting his wrist as if preparing to flick it forward. The cigarette immediately shoots forward. Nam's face is filled with alarm, but he manages to lean back and dodge it. Hyun-cheon immediately closes in, delivering a powerful kick to his leg. Nam collapses to the ground, his face contorted as he screams out in pain. Hyun-cheon doesn't stop. He immediately swings his hand and slaps him across the face. His eyes are wide and ferocious, a smug and arrogant smirk on his face. Minho can only stand silently with his head bowed as he sees Nam being mercilessly beaten. He squeezes his eyes shut, his heart heavy with guilt and remorse. Hyun-cheon starts cursing. You piece of shit standing near you? You reek of sweat. He stands up straight, puts his hands in his pockets, and asks arrogantly, Hey Nam, are you good at fighting? Do you know who beat up your little bro? He then questions him. Why did you hit Hyunsu? Nam's voice is hesitant and flustered as he replies, It's just a close friend got hurt. Hyun-cheon quickly approaches smirking as he asks, What's up with you two? Are you dating or something? Despite being beaten to the point of bleeding, Nam's face remains firm and unwavering. I have my reasons to protect my friend. His voice at this moment becomes incredibly decisive. He's my benefactor. Hyuncheon scowls and says mockingly, "Bullshit, you dickhead. You think you're in a movie or something." Then he turns and walks away, saying aggressively, "You two can go date each other, you dickhead." Nam emphasizes once more with a serious expression, "I'm not kidding. I'm determined to protect him until I die." Hyuncheon quickly turns his head back, his eyebrows furrowed in clear annoyance. "A stupid piece of shit. You think that guy will be grateful to you?" Despite this, Nam firmly asserts, "Yes. I'm sure of it." Hyuncheon suddenly bursts out laughing mockingly. "Really?" He turns and gives an order to his underlings. "Tomorrow I want you to teach that piece of shit a lesson." His underling replies gleefully, "All right." Hyuncheon says with extreme cruelty, "After you teach him a lesson, drag him around. And get a few more freshmen ready." The expression on his underling's face becomes even more excited. "Leave it to me." The underling asks Hyuncheon, "I can do whatever I want to that guy, right?" Hyuncheon replies authoritatively, "Yeah." Hearing this, Nam grits his teeth, his body trembling with rage. Dongjin is in danger. Then he quickly stands up with a defiant posture. His tone rings out with immense strength. "Sunbae-nim." Hyuncheon turns his face, looking at him with a wary expression. At this moment, Nam's eyes suddenly darken, his gaze so serious. It seems to freeze the entire space. "There's a mosquito on your cheek." Hyuncheon scowls and says, "What?" Nam, no longer holding back, opens his mouth and says, "Excuse me for a moment." Then he immediately swings his arm, launching a fierce punch straight into Hyuncheon's face. His eyes immediately become dazed and numb. He foams at the mouth, his body trembling uncontrollably. The blow causes Hyuncheon's body to sway, and he staggers sideways. Immediately after, he collapses pathetically to the ground. Seeing Hyuncheon lying unconscious with blood on his nose, his friends are utterly shocked. "Hyuncheon, hey, are you okay?" In the end, Nam bows and says politely, "Please don't bother us anymore." Then Minho watches from a distance, utterly stunned by Nam's actions. Hanjin's face contorts as he shouts, You bastard! You'll be dead if you open your mouth about this." Minho quickly raises both hands, his face filled with fear. "All right, I'll keep it a secret." Hanjin snaps irritably, "Get lost." Then Minho quietly leaves as he was told. Meanwhile, Hyunsu is peeking from behind a wall, smirking with delight. With just one punch, he seems impressive. His face shows an extremely sinister expression. That guy can beat a third year. This should be fun. At the same time, Minho is running hastily, his eyes filled with tension and panic. He just keeps moving forward, paying no attention to his surroundings. Minho unexpectedly brushes past Dongjin without realizing it. His face is bewildered, so worried that he's in no mood to pay attention to anything else. Dongjin, holding the plan book, contemplates. "I've killed all my classmates. Now it's the second year's turn." And so Dongjin and Minho stand a distance apart, as if signaling a tense encounter in the future. During class, EG assigns homework to her students. Just like last time, "I want you all to draw a self-portrait of your inner self." She gently reminds them, "Turn it in when you're finished." Minho had sketched a self-portrait on paper, with animals and plants representing life on one side, and a skull representing death on the other. Suddenly, there's the sound of unexpected footsteps, echoing down the classroom hallway. The footsteps grow more rushed and steady. Dongjin suddenly appears in front of the second-year classroom, his figure silhouetted in the dim light. Without hesitation, he immediately swings the door open. Meanwhile, Minho is focused on coloring his drawing. Suddenly, a strange noise from outside causes his hand to stop on the paper. As soon as Dongjin enters, all the pens simultaneously float in midair. The students in the class all stare wide-eyed, utterly amazed. Meanwhile, EG is observing the class and praises Minho's drawing. The left-right division is quite impressive. She points to the skull and asks curiously, "Is this the dark part of your soul?" Minho forces a smile and explains awkwardly, "I'm just expressing my fear of death." EG's face brightens with a smile as she replies, "So it's an expression of death in life. Your way of expressing it is quite unique." She gently places a hand on Minho's shoulder and asks kindly, "Minho, animals also play an important role in your life?" "Right." Minho's tone is hesitant and awkward. "Yes." Out in the hallway, everything is as quiet and deserted as usual. Dongjin stands before the door of another second-year classroom. The air grows tense, as if every breath is being choked off. Then he slowly and calmly walks towards the next classroom door. At this moment, Minho's face suddenly darkens. His eyes are filled with shock and bewilderment, as if feeling an invisible pressure crushing him. His eyes are wide, reflecting an empty void. His body trembles uncontrollably with fear of something. EG rushes over, places a hand on his back, and says soothingly, "What's wrong?" Minho's face turns pale with terror. "It's that feeling again. It's getting closer." As Dongjin pushes the door open, the atmosphere in the classroom immediately becomes strangely tense and suffocating. Minho glances at him with a look of utter shock. Stunned, Jin continues to step into the room, decisively. His eyes flash around. His body is enveloped in a dazzling light. The entire class turns to look at him, their faces filled with bewilderment. Seeing Dongjin calmly walk into the classroom, E.G. asks, "Who is this?" Minho doesn't dare turn his head, only glancing sideways. Dongjin's face is cold, stern, as if he doesn't care about anything around him. A female student focused on her drawing suddenly looks up and asks, "Who is—" Suddenly her drawing is ripped from the notebook. Her eyes are stunned with surprise. She watches her drawing float in midair. A piece of paper immediately shoots past, slicing across the female student's face in a flash. Her face is shocked and terrified. She touches the blood trickling down her cheek. Dongjin quickly holds out his hand and the paper immediately shoots back into his palm. Minho's jaw drops in horror. Psychic powers. The students immediately gather around Dongjin and start murmuring excitedly. "Hey freshman, how did you do that?" "It's magic." E.G. quickly raises her hand and says, "Go back to your seats. Stop fooling around and go back to your class." Minho, his face filled with terror, holds up a hand to stop her. "Ma'am, don't get any closer." E.G. looks puzzled and asks, "Why?" The paper immediately flies from a distance like an arrow, then slices sharply across E.G.'s neck, causing blood to spray. Fresh blood keeps gushing out, even splashing onto Minho's face. His eyes widen in shock. He can't hide the extreme terror on his face. He immediately jumps to his feet when he sees the body of E.G. collapse to the floor. The entire class panics and scatters in terror. "Who is this bastard?" "Run, Dongjin!" Slowly. The steps over the bodies lying on the floor. The students fleeing towards the classroom door. Can't help but tremble in fear. "I can't open the door. He's getting closer." E.G. lying motionless. On the floor struggles to say with a weak voice, "Minho." After that word, her eyes suddenly close her last breath, and then she is gone forever. Minho grits his teeth in fury, unable to hold back his emotions as tears well up in his eyes. "Ma'am?" He looks at his own hands helplessly and sadly, thinking, "I want to save her. But how? No, if I just stand by, there won't be another chance." Meanwhile, the other students are using chairs to resist and block Dongjin's path. Don't come any closer!" Everyone's faces are filled with anxiety and overwhelming unease. What's wrong with him? But Dongjin doesn't do anything, but just quietly glides past the students. What catches his eye is Minho, who has placed his hands on E.G.'s body, his body radiating a brilliant light. The light surrounds his entire body, growing more intense. His eyes are suddenly filled with stunned bewilderment. "What is this, E.G.?" is faintly opening her eyes as if resurrected from the dead. Minho's face beams with a radiant smile. "Ma'am!" E.G. holds her head as if having just gone through a near-death experience. "My head." Minho's eyes suddenly widen in shock as he sees the floor beginning to crack. Dongjin immediately appears in front of him with a large rock in his hand, his eyes wide with a terrifying look. His face suddenly darkens and he growls a threat. "Die ability user." Then he immediately throws the sharp rock, sending it hurtling straight towards Minho at an incredible speed. Minho's jaw drops in shock as he sees the rock getting closer and closer. His eyes are glued to the approaching rock, helpless as he can neither dodge nor resist. A shard of sharp glass was thrown. Next, Shizuo spat, hitting Minho in the face. Then everyone fell down in a heap. He was terrified, only able to make muffled sounds. Someone steps over the corpses and approaches. An ability user like Minho. Tears of fear welled up in his eyes. But why? He glanced at E.G. lying on the floor. "Why did he—" Minho's tears fell. "Ma'am?" He raised his hands helplessly. "I want to save her." "But how, then?" Minho buried his face in his hands, guilt-ridden. "They're going to die anyway. I'll have to endure it like the other times." For a moment he calmed down and thought seriously. "But no, if I just stand by, there won't be another chance." Minho has to turn back time before it's too late. Indeed, he was currently in the process of healing E.G. A bright light surrounds Minho as he transfers energy to her. Finally, E.G.'s eyes fluttered open. He exclaimed joyfully, "Ma'am!" She sat up, still dizzy. "My head." A fleeting moment of reunion. Minho's eyes fell again. But she's going to be attacked soon. Can I still stop him in time? Even if I can help them, what happens next? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps makes him turn his head. Then Minho glances up. Dongjin is standing menacingly before him, a rock in his hand. Minho's mouth falls open in shock. "No, it's not time for that time loop yet." His eyes flash. "Die, ruler of time." Then from Dongjin's hand, the sharp rock is thrown. It flies straight towards him as he sits there stunned. "Until the rock is about to hit." Minho's face, a sudden temporal distortion appears. All the images seem to be glitching, and then Dongjin and the rock have stopped, but his eyes don't leave its sharp point. But after a moment, Minho realizes the problem. He curiously touches the sharp tip of the rock. "What?" Then Minho glances at the classroom scene. E.g., who was crawling just a moment ago has now stopped. Dongjin's ferocious face is still there. Everyone's fearful, astonished eyes seem to be frozen. He shoots up surprised. Time has stopped, but Minho is still confused. But I haven't used the time loop yet. He looks down at the sharp rock again, and Minho saw that it had moved a little from its original position. It hasn't stopped. It was then that he finally understood. It's just slower. But another problem was also troubling Minho. But why is it only me? Suddenly a tremor occurs, making him stumble. A strange crack appears in front of Minho. What is this? This scene is like a painting on a sheet of glass. That's starting to crack. And then he meets the same fate as everyone else. I can't move this. Suddenly everything shatters like a sheet of glass. The pieces fall like a downpour. Surprisingly, E.G.'s voice is heard. Class, return to your seats. Wake up the others. And the image of Minho sleeping at his desk appears. Pieces of chalk keep hitting his head. Someone shouts while Minho is drowsy. Wake up! He suddenly jerks awake with a terrified face. Surprisingly, the classroom is peaceful, as if nothing had happened. The whole class is chattering. What's up with that loser? He looks like he's just seen a ghost. So cringe. Suddenly, E.G. shouts, settle down, class! Minho breathes a sigh of relief, as if a weight has been lifted from his heart. Thank God time has turned back. Suddenly, his eyes fly open. Minho turns to look at the clock. But why did it go back so far? But he feels uneasy. Shouldn't it have returned to the moment before death? Minho's eyes don't leave the clock. Was it because of that strange incident? Why did this happen? At the same time, there's a sudden sound of gasping from the hallway door. It echoes through the hallway. It turns out someone is panting for breath. Dong! Jin leans against the wall, exhausted, and collapses. He grimaces and grits his teeth. What is this? I feel like shit. Dongjin punches the wall. I haven't even killed anyone yet. But why? His head is filled with endless questions without answers. Something's very strange. That wasn't just a simple loop. E.G. is standing in front of the class giving the assignment to continue the previous lesson. Please draw a self-portrait of a hidden part of yourself. Yourself, perhaps Minho, is the only one in the class who ignores her words. Those who are finished can turn them into me. Minho paced back and forth anxiously. He'll be here soon. What should I do? Minho's hands trembled as he clenched them. If I don't do anything, people will die again. He squeezed his eyes shut, making a silent resolve. I have to find a way to stop him. Outside, Dongjin walked slowly, one step at a time. He put his hands in his pockets and leisurely walked up the stairs. Back in the classroom, Minho suddenly raised his hand. His voice caught everyone's attention. Excuse me? Yeji asked kindly. What is it, Minho? He lowered his hand and lied. My stomach hurts. She chuckled. That's what you get for napping during break. Go on, hurry. At the same time, Dongjin, with a fierce expression, was shrouded in a gloomy, oppressive aura. And then Dongjin reached the final steps of the staircase. Meanwhile, Minho was cautiously opening the classroom door. His eyes scanned the surroundings. Then Minho dashed off. Thank God he's not here yet. At that moment, the familiar hallway suddenly seemed endlessly long. He hid behind a door, his eyes fixed on the end of the hall. After a moment with no movement, Minho closed his eyes in relief and let out a long sigh. But to be sure, he peeked out again. The hallway was still quiet. Not a sound. Minho's eyes were pensive. That first year has the same ability as me. He remembered Dongjin's face from his dream. Is everything I'm feeling because of him? Suddenly he appeared from the end of the hallway. Minho was startled, his eyes going wide with fear. He pressed himself against the door, waiting for Dongjin to approach. Minho prayed repeatedly in his heart, here he comes. Please don't come this way. And so he peeked his head out to steal a look. Surprisingly, Dongjin stopped in front of a different classroom door. Minho's mind filled with question marks. Class 1? Isn't he supposed to come to my class? He couldn't stop speculating. Why is this happening? Why did he go in there? Minho's eyes widened in shock. I was so sure I felt him coming to my class. He looked again at the unusually calm person. No way. Did he turn back time? To kill all the students in Class 1? But why? The classroom door in front of Dongjin suddenly swung open. He slowly stepped inside as Minho watched. And then the classroom door slowly closed. Instantly, he darted out like an arrow. Right now, Minho was heading straight for the end of the hall. There's no time to lose. His fear grew larger by the second. This is the only way to save everyone. Minho rushed to the school's fire safety area. Then he resolutely pressed the fire alarm. The alarm blared, echoing throughout the school. Elsewhere, Dongjin entered the classroom, drawing everyone's attention. And the fire alarm rang out, breaking the tense atmosphere. His eyebrows furrowed. He glanced back, not understanding what was happening. Everyone's footsteps hurried down the stairs. The teacher, walking last, anxiously reminded the students, slow down, be careful on the stairs, kids. As they rushed out, they didn't forget to gossip. Is there a fire? I don't know. Someone must be pulling a prank. At the same time, someone from Class 2 whispered, what was up with that first year just now? Maybe he went into the wrong class. pulled the fire alarm, and then ran off. If that's true, he's way too confident. Dongjin stood listening with an annoyed expression. If that's true, he's way too confident. He said nothing, standing there quietly. Minho stole a glance. Thank God. He won't do anything now. He clicked his tongue, looking at Dongjin's stiff expression. Such a childish move, but curiosity still gnawed at Minho. But why would he kill people? He kept staring at him, speculating. Someone is trying to stop me. Minho's eyes didn't move. I'm sure he did something with the loop. Even as Dongjin left, he kept watching him. There are still plenty of other chances. Minho watched his retreating back with determination. I'll find out your secret eventually. And then he turned and walked in the opposite direction. See you next time, ability user. The next day, on a smoke-filled balcony, Hyunjun was sitting comfortably on the steps, puffing on a cigarette. He took a long drag before asking, "Did I pass out?" The others chimed in, "Yeah, you did." "You don't remember?" Hyunjun gritted his teeth, mangling the cigarette and cursing, "Damn it!" One of the guys with the blue hair laughed fearlessly. "I heard you got knocked out with just one hit." What an interesting kid. Is he really a first year? Immediately, he spat out the cigarette and warned, "You think this is funny?" Then, without hesitation, Hyunjun slammed his head against the door. What I meant to say was, he turned back with a fierce face and ordered, "Na Sangnam, drag that bastard here." At the same time, inside the classroom, Dahyun frowned and scolded, "What's wrong with you? You only do what you want. Think about your friends for once." She directed her words at Sangnam, who was sitting with his head down. "The teacher's going to chew you out again." He covered his face with his hands, looking helpless. "I didn't mean to do it. I lost control before I knew it." With that, Dahyun sighed. All of this as the class president. Feeling ignored, she raised her hand to strike him. "Are you not listening to me?" Suddenly, Dahyun was grabbed tightly. Sangnam stood up and got close to her face. "Let's talk for a second, Dahyun." And so she was dragged away. "Let go of me, you psycho!" Leaving everyone with scrutinizing stares. "Are they dating?" "I bet 500 they are." Dahyun casually popped open a can of soda. "Why would you do something you'll regret?" Then she brought it to her lips and drank. "So stupid. He's going to come after you again." But Sangnam replied nonchalantly, "Is that so?" Dahyun scolded him. "Isn't it obvious? Did you just hit him without thinking?" She closed her eyes, remembering. "I can't believe you could hit someone." A small boy suddenly turned into a giant. Back then, Dahyun was still questioning him, annoyed. "Why do you keep teasing me?" And he had an innocent look on his face. "What did I do?" Sangnam frowned. "I'm more worried about Dongjin." She glanced at the empty can. "Stop clinging to him." Then Dahyun threw it in the trash. "Go pray for him if you're so worried. Or you can try fighting him yourself." Ending the conversation, she left. "It's up to you. I don't want to get involved. You should sort this out quickly." In contrast, Sangnam seemed regretful, but he's a really good person. His words were so sincere that Dahyun had to turn her head back to look. "Without him, I wouldn't be in this world anymore." The two sat down to talk again. Sangnam started first. "Do you remember Unsim Hospital?" Dahyun glanced back. "The hospital that's rumored to be haunted." He immediately agreed yes. When he was in elementary school, Sangnam went there with a few friends. They made a bet that they would take a picture inside the building as proof. The boy with glasses was scared. "I can't do it." But the black-haired kid disagreed. "I took a week off to come here instead of going to the internet cafe." They all went inside. But after just a few steps, a boy's voice rang out. "Wait!" The black-haired kid was starting to get scared, so he suggested, "Can we just take the picture here?" The boy with glasses agreed immediately. "Okay." Too scared, they all decided to take the picture on the ground floor. The two kids stood awkwardly smiling for Sangnam to take the picture. And suddenly, there was a loud noise that made the two kids jump. Sang. Nam lowered his camera and looked up towards the sound. His eyes were wide, his face frozen. The other two boys turned curiously. "What is it?" Before their eyes was a dark shadow with glowing eyes, appearing in the doorway. It slowly approached with a creepy whispering sound. While Sangnam was frozen in place, the other two boys' mouths fell open in terror, and so all three of them ran for their lives. "A ghost." After hearing the story, Dahyun hesitated. Then she asked curiously, "What does that have to do with Kim Dongjin?" Sangnam's voice also grew quieter. "Listen, when I got home, he realized his camera was gone. Sangnam's mom would have been furious, so he went back to the hospital. At that time, Nam discovered a suspicious red liquid on the floor. This..." He stared at it. "Is this syrup?" Instead of finding his camera, Sangnam only found syrup. Not only that, the entire second-floor hallway was flooded with syrup. As he stepped onto the stairs, he looked back with a glimmer of hope. "It's not human syrup, right?" When he went up there, Sangnam saw a hallway leading to the director's office. At that moment, suddenly a voice from behind him called out, "Is this yours?" Sangnam turned around and saw Dongjin holding the camera. It was Dongjin. But the kid's clothes were all stained with syrup. Dongjin held it out to Sangnam. Here. He hurriedly took it. Thanks. Then the kid just turned and walked away. Don't come here again. And that was the first time Sangnam met Dongjin. After hearing the story, Da-hyun frowned. That's terrible. What was he doing there? He scratched his ear, thinking for a moment. But Sangnam had no answer. I don't know either. Her expression became annoyed. What is that hospital still there? He replied dejectedly, probably. Anyway, a few days later I went there again. Suddenly someone called out, Hey na Sangnam! Instantly a pair of hands appeared in front of him. Nam was knocked down in front of Da-hyun, making her scream in fear. The person's voice made Da-hyun tremble. Come with me now. You bastard! Elsewhere a book was floating in midair. Then it opened, its pages flying everywhere. It turned out Dongjin's eyes were controlling the book. Strangely, he was alone on the rooftop, deep in thought. I don't think it was the Time Dominator. Suddenly the book seemed to be pulled taut, and then it was torn into shreds. Dongjin's face was like ice. He watched the shredded paper fall, his heart heavy. A time loop that even I don't remember. And the moment the fire alarm went off, Dongjin's eyes suddenly widened. Was it just a coincidence? Shreds of paper littered the ground at his feet. This loop is too suspicious to be just a coincidence. Suddenly a noise at the door caught Dongjin's attention. A group of people appeared, dragging Sangnam with them. They mercilessly threw him to the floor. One of them took out his phone and called Hyuncheon. He's on the roof. He didn't notice someone was watching from behind. He continued to talk carelessly. Okay. Another guy raised his foot and brutally kicked Sangnam. Get up and play with us. Haejin raised his fist threateningly. Bring him over. Jiho smirked. Don't get hurt, dude. At that moment, he cowered and bowed his head. I'm sorry, I really don't want to fight you, Sunbae. He laughed, smugly challenging him. It's okay, you bastard, come at me. Haejin swung his fist, but it didn't connect. Your chin is high. Next, he used his leg to kick. How about this? But Sangnam just leaned back and dodged it easily. The other two guys watched Haejin make a fool of himself and burst out laughing. Loser. Embarrassed, he snapped back, yelling, You see this, you bastard? You said you didn't want to fight, so why did you dodge? Suddenly, a large hand appeared over Haejin's eyes. This time, Hyunjun had appeared. You're here. He walked in front of him. Sangnam, you okay? Hyunjun smirked. Thanks for swatting the mosquito on my face. I should return the favor right. Then he fought dirty, ordering his lackeys, hold him. Sangnam was held in place by two people. Then he approached him, teasing, oh my. There's a mosquito here too. With that, Hyuncheon threw a hard punch. Seemingly unsatisfied, he smirked again. What's this? There's a fly too? And so Sangnam took a punch to the stomach. Next, Hyuncheon used his foot. Shit. You scared me. There's a cockroach too. He crumpled to his knees in pain. He laughed with satisfaction. This bastard acts all righteous. Are you having fun letting others beat you up like this? Then Hyuncheon grabbed Sangnam's chin hard. Is your hobby taking punches for your friends? Haejin even chimed in. He has a girlfriend too. Her name is Da-hyun, right? His smile turned perverse. You have a girlfriend. Where is she? I want to see. Every single word made Sangnam frown in anger. Bring her here. He gritted his teeth to hold it in. His trembling hands wanted to attack. Sangnam didn't want to fight. He could only struggle and beg, don't drag her into this. She's not my girlfriend. Stop it. Seeing this, Hyuncheon frowned, annoyed. Why are you struggling now? We were having fun. Wait, I changed my mind. He raised his fist in challenge. Let's have a proper fight. Sangnam asked blankly, what? Hyuncheon cheerfully laid out the terms. If you win, this ends here. If I win, you'll be the loser. What do you say, deal? Although he didn't want to, he reluctantly agreed. I don't know if that's a good idea. But I'll do as you say, seeing that he laughed triumphantly. What? Because you think you can hit me again? You're wrong, kid. Have you forgotten who I am? Immediately, Hyuncheon held out his fist. Don't just stand there. Hit me, I'm not letting you off that easy. Meanwhile, Sangnam was still hesitating. But I'm really... Suddenly, Haejin charged in with a mop. Liar, you bastard! He swung it hard at his head. It caught him off guard and he fell face first onto the floor. Next, they all started kicking Sangnam. At this point, Dongjin couldn't take it anymore. He stepped out from the corner of the rooftop. Haejin was the first to spot him, turning his head to look. He pointed at him and yelled, That's his friend. Sangnam also looked up at the sound, seeing Dongjin. Why is Dongjin here? When they saw him walking boldly forward, they yelled, Get him! Meanwhile, Sangnam struggled with all his might to stop him. No! Dongjin coldly raised his arm. The threads on the button came loose, causing it to fall from his sleeve. And then Dongjin shot it directly at Sangnam's chest, creating a large hole. He raised his hand to touch it, and streams of syrup poured out. Although Sangnam fell, he didn't forget to worry about his friend. Dongjin run? A nearby wall had a hole blown through it by the powerful attack. Sangnam lay face down on the floor, unconscious. Then Jiho turned back, curious. What is this? The blonde guy's face showed annoyance. What's wrong with him? The other two charged aggressively towards Dongjin, talking as they went. Who knows, shit, get that bastard. Suddenly, the surroundings turned into a dark void. Then everything returned to normal. But his face now showed astonishment. Time seemed to have turned back to when Dongjin was standing behind the door in the hallway observing. Hyun-Cheon was taunting, because I could get knocked out again. Don't be so delusional about yourself. The events unfolded as before. He smirked contemptuously. Have you forgotten who I am? Hae-jin also shot a smug look at Sang-nam. Hyun-Cheon raised his fist in challenge. Just hit me, otherwise I'm not letting you go. Meanwhile, Dongjin was observing their every move. Suddenly, he who had been silent until now spoke up. But I really... Before he could finish, Hae-jin charged in with a mop. Liar, you bastard! On this side! Dongjin flicked his index finger, as if controlling something. Suddenly, the handle of the mop also changed direction, and it swung and hit Hyunjun's buzz cut. Hae-jin's face showed embarrassment. He held his head and cursed, "Shit, you crazy bastard!" He flailed his arms wildly, stammering, "Sorry, my hand slipped." And so the apology was met with a punch, sending Hae-jin sprawling. Satisfied, Dongjin turned away. While he screamed in pain, "My teeth!" Hyunjun's angry voice roared, "Get lost, you bastard!" Then he jumped over the wall and quietly left. At this point, he held his head with an annoyed expression. It makes... me dizzy. Ho suggested, let's take a break. I'm worried about... But Hyunjun's face contorted. No, I'm going to beat him to a pulp myself. He immediately pushed him away. Get out of the way. In contrast, Sang-nam looked worried. Are you okay? Hyunjun paid him no mind and charged forward aggressively. Worry about yourself. His fist closed in on his face. Immediately, Sang-nam leaned back to dodge. Hyunjun, having missed, glared at him. Then he spun around and jumped, and Hyunjun continued with a kick. This time, Sang-nam stepped back to avoid it. He backed up a bit too far, causing his whole body to hit the balcony wall. Hyun-cheon charged in again with his fists. Now Sang-nam couldn't dodge anymore. He closed his eyes, accepting his fate. But surprisingly, he stopped his fist and burst out laughing. In his heart, Hyunjun marveled, he's fast. He put on a smug face. What do you think? Was it worth it? Don't be such a coward, you bastard. Sang-nam acted indifferent. Actually, I don't like fighting, so just hit me as much as you want. I won't dodge. Seeing this, Hyun-chan suggested, but I don't like that. What's the fun in that? So let's play a game. And so, he explained the rules of the game. You like the wheat game. Rice is a punch, barley is a touch. Hyun-cheon held his fist up in front of his face menacingly. If you can dodge my punch, you win. If not, I win. 10 rounds, how about it? Sang-nam's voice hesitated. All right. But in his heart, he wondered, can I even dodge it? With that, he pointed at Sang-nam's forehead. Let's begin. Barley. Hyun-cheon laughed and repeated, barley. He gently placed his hand on his cheek. At that moment, Sang-nam covered his face and yelled, barley! Unexpectedly, Hyunjun just patted his cheek lightly and laughed. It's barley, you bastard. Then he repeatedly stroked his cheek, making him repeat after him. Barley, barley, barley. Feeling satisfied, Hyunjun comfortably rolled his shoulders. Should we end it? What's this? Then Sang-nam stammered, rice. He quickly lunged forward with his fist. That's right. Once again, he squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for his fate. But his clenched fist seemed to not allow Sang-nam to do so. I can't dodge. I don't know. And so he ignored it and used his own fist to fight back. I'll do what I can. As a result, the two clashed. They paused for a moment as everyone watched. Hyun! Cheon's smile vanished, replaced by an annoyed expression as he gritted his teeth. This crazy bastard. A second later, he turned his head and ordered, hey, let's go. The blonde guy, losing interest, asked, what's wrong? Then his eyes seemed to see something and narrowed. Turns out the blonde guy had seen Hyun-cheon's swollen hand. He asked worriedly, your hand? But he was immediately cut off. I know, damn it. Hyun-cheon quickly left and slammed the door shut. And Sang-nam, sprawled on the floor, let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide and thought, what have I done? Suddenly, a pair of feet slowly approached. Sang-nam turned his head to look. The person who appeared before him was none other than Dongjin. At that moment, the streets were bustling with people. Minho sadly looked down at the ground as he dragged his feet. I'm pretty sure there were 2 time loops just now, he calmly recalled. The first time was when he attacked me. The next time was when time stopped. Is that why time rewound? He killed everyone, and I saved them. Minho was deep in thought as he crossed the street. When I save someone, does it turn back time? Is he a murderer? Suddenly, his face became dejected and extremely worried. Suddenly, a shout from the distance startled Minho. Hey, student! He witnessed a shy student. Turn his head gently. Yes. Minho, without hesitation, ordered, give me some cigarettes. The student still tried to be polite, whispering, but I don't smoke. He leaned back and laughed loudly. I just saw you smoking over there. You bastard! Minho stood up to threaten and bully him. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Maybe bastards like you need some quitting therapy. Actually, it's a good thing I'm in a bad mood today. The student was so scared he was sweating all over. Okay, I'll give you the cigarettes. He impatiently dismissed all pleas. Let me hit you first. Minho turned his face away and mumbled to himself. I'll just pretend I didn't see that. Before I get caught. After that, he went to the Ibis company. Minho, working behind the counter, bowed his head. Goodbye. He was still restless and worried. Maybe we're opposites. Does time turn back every time he kills someone? If that's true and he still tries to kill people, does he enjoy it? Minho's internal struggle became more intense. No, it doesn't feel like he's doing it for pleasure. The image of that mysterious person looking up defiantly. Time controller. Minho froze, his mind racing. That's right, he called me a time controller. But what is a time controller? Time control. The ability to turn back time. He quickly answered his own doubts. Maybe. He's looking for people who can control time. That's why he's trying to kill everyone. He mistook me for a time controller. I don't know the reason, but Minho unconsciously stared at the computer screen for a long time. Why would he go to such lengths? Just to find a time controller. If I ignore him, will things be better? No way, he doesn't remember me, does he? On the school rooftop sang. Nam was lying down when he suddenly heard footsteps approaching. He instinctively opened his eyes and observed who it was. Sang Nam excitedly sat up and questioned him repeatedly. Oh, Dongjin! Why are you here? You haven't gone home yet. He stood up worriedly and walked around his friend. Are you leaving? Are you okay? Suddenly, Dongjin grabbed Sangnam's collar tightly. He gritted his teeth, his eyes wide as he interrogated him. Why do you always care so much about me? Dongjin, sad and angry, remembered. Even when you were about to die. Run, Dongjin. Hearing that Sangnam was confused. What are you talking about? Because you're my friend. Dongjin smirked, his expression contemptuous. Friend, stop talking nonsense. Tell me the truth. Who are you? Sangnam was silent for a moment, then evasively changed the subject. Dongjin, are you still killing pigeons? Dongjin was surprised, his face blank. What? At that moment, memories of the past with the pigeons came flooding back. Sangnam walked closer to Minho and stopped. He looked around anxiously and awkwardly. What is this? Dongjin flinched. The kid turned his head away coldly, unflinching. Sangnam looked down, expressing his sincerity. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Because you're my savior. Dongjin froze, reasoning to himself. The person I met at the hospital was you. He coldly pushed his friend's hand away and left. You asked if I still kill pigeons. No, now I kill people. Sangnam, afraid he misheard, stammered, repeating, people. What do you mean, Dongjin? He leaves quietly, not forgetting to add a warning. Something fun is going to happen at school tomorrow. Don't come if you want to live. Minho's grandmother is pushing her cart as night falls. Hajin sadly looks at the pile of cardboard on her cart. Oh dear, this isn't enough. Besides, my grandson should be visiting by now. I should head home. From a distance, Inho and Chanho's group are drinking and being loud. Where'd you beat that bastard, huh? Damn, I hit him too. How can these bastards live without me? He hears the cart. Hajin approaches and he turns his face away, showing his annoyance. Who's that? Inho yells again, annoyed. What is this? Inho glares with his frog-like eyes and interrogates her. This old hag is taking it without even asking. Hajin continues to quickly gather the cardboard pieces in silence. Inho jumps up, turns around. You must be deaf. Then annoyed, he kicks over Minho's grandmother's cart. Damn. Hajin, terrified, starts to plead. I didn't hear you very well. I'm sorry, I didn't know that was yours. Inho smirks and curses. Is that so, you crazy old hag? Junu and Chanho behind him sit silently snickering. Inho quickly holds out his hand. Give me a lighter. Then he picks up a piece of cardboard and rips it forcefully. Inho lights the cardboard and says loudly, This is really pissing me off. You watch this. Hajin sadly runs to stop him, but it's too late. Oh no. Student, wait me. Inho quickly strikes her hard, knocking her to the ground. You're so filthy. He throws the lighter onto the pile of cardboard on the ground, without hesitation. Hajin reaches out her hand regretfully, pleading, Oh dear. I gathered all of that. The fire grows more and more intense, turning the pile of paper to ash. The delinquent Inho, Junu, and Chanho laugh gloatingly as they see the big fire. At the same time, Minho gets off work and walks out the company door. He looks away, thinking, I got my paycheck, so what should I buy? Should I buy some meat? He hears a commotion from the other side of the park. It startles Minho. What's that over there? He looks closer and slowly recognizes the scene with Inho's group, gleefully tearing up cardboard. Minho's grandmother watches the fire in front of her, stunned. He is upset and annoyed, but only stammers, Grandma? Minho runs to Hajin and helps her up. Grandma, what are you doing here? Get up, Grandma. Minho. She takes her grandson's hand to comfort him. Don't worry about me. You go home first. Minho, annoyed, asks loudly, What do you mean, let's go home together, Grandma? Suddenly, Inho's group feigns apology. They approach one by one. Can't you see we're having fun? Listen to your grandma. He grabs Minho's hair. Or do you want to play too? Inho smirks contemptuously. So no. Hajin runs and kneels begging, please spare my grandson. It's my fault. Let him go. Like a delinquent, Inho kicks her. Don't touch me with those filthy hands. Minho rushes over yelling for his grandma. Hajin lies writhing in pain on the ground. Oh God. Seeing his grandmother being bullied, Minho's eyes well up with tears. Why are they doing this? He looks up and questions them. Why are you doing this? As soon as he finishes speaking, the delinquents pour water on Minho's head, as if they had it ready. Junwoo, while pouring, tilts his head and smiles defiantly. Because of your grandma, I'm all out of beer. The bastard throws the empty beer can at Minho's head and leaves. After that, Minho runs up and kicks him in the face, knocking him down. The beer can flies off in another direction, from the force of his kick. They act disappointed and complain to each other. Missed you did that on purpose, huh? You missed, you bastard? Then Inho lands another kick to Minho's stomach. Here's a diagonal one. He kicks him in the face without any hesitation. Gola, Minho, dazed, tries to open his eyes, his voice faint. Grandma? Before closing his eyes. He sees them excitedly attacking Ha-jin. Goal. Minho, exhausted and in pain, passes out. Meanwhile, Dongjin arrives at a container storage yard. He looks up at a large container on the very top. Dongjin holds out his hand, channeling his power, causing his hair to fly up. The container gradually makes a low rumbling sound as if being lifted. Then it soars majestically through the air. With Dongjin's excitement, he looks up at the sky with brimming confidence. That's enough. As soon as he finishes speaking, the container falls back to its original position. Dust flies everywhere. But Dongjin doesn't hesitate to cover his face with his arm. He stares and calculates in his mind. This will kill everyone at school tomorrow. Just as he steps through the door of his house, Dongjin is about to take off his shoes when he hears a conversation. Is Artegyo asleep already? Taemin cheerfully touches Dongjin's mother's belly, joking. After kicking Mom's belly so happily, he's quiet now, huh? He senses another presence, turns his head and smiles. Ah, you're back. Go have dinner. We've already eaten. Dongjin also politely declines. It's okay, sir. I already ate with my friends. Naomi leans back in her chair to remind him. You still call him that? You should call him Dad. Taemin raises a hand to reassure his wife. It's okay. Getting angry all of a sudden isn't good for Taegyo. Then she quickly shifts her attention to the baby. Oh, honey, he's kicking again. He leans forward in surprise. Really, where? Dongjin returns to his room and quickly takes off his student ID. He sits on his chair and turns on his laptop to check the news. The screen shows, School News 2021, Safety Education. The school is holding an earthquake and fire drill. Meanwhile, Minho gradually wakes up and opens his eyes to the sky. Hajin worries aloud, what should I do? Oh dear. Minho. He struggles to open his eyes in pain. Grandma? Grandma, Minho bolts up and rushes to Hajin. Grandma, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? She gives a happy, gentle smile. I'm fine. He hugs his grandmother tightly, filled with regret. I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I could have reported it. And at the same time, Junhun is walking home on a deserted street. He's holding a gift box, but his voice isn't happy. Are you still awake? Dad has something to say. The voice on the other end replies politely, Yes, Dad. Junhun laughs and confesses sincerely to his child. Today is Jonho's birthday. I'm sorry Dad is late. I'll be home soon. As he's walking, Chanho brushes past, bumping his shoulder hard. Because of that, the gift in Junhun's hand falls to the ground, scattered. He looks at the gift while Chanho and his buddies laugh gloatingly. I told you that bastard was a weirdo. Junhun turns around and calls out, Hey, with an annoyed tone. You there, you should at least apologize. Chanho turns his head and gets close to threaten him. What did you say? Junhun looks up awkwardly, stammering. I said you should apologize. Then Chanho grabs him by the collar and drags him away. Is that so? Come with me. Junhun pleads in fear immediately. No, wait. I'm leaving. I'm sorry. But after running for a bit, Junhun looks back. Chanho is quickly chasing after him. Junhun is painfully grabbed by the hair and yanked back. Chanho laughs with glee. He prepares to strike from behind. But before he can, a flash of light darts forward. It's Minho who rushed out to block the blow. Chanho looks surprised at the person in front of him, and the atmosphere goes silent. Minho trembles and sobs inwardly. Chanho, confused, tries to get a better look to see who it is. Suddenly, Minho grabs his hand tightly. Then he channels his power, creating electric sparks. Chanho is startled, pulls his hand back and retreats, bumping his buddy hard in the shoulder. Junwoo steps forward to question him on behalf of his friends. Why are you interfering? Minho doesn't answer but turns his head and tells Junhun to run. He pants and nods yes. Then Junwoo angrily kicks Minho in the stomach. Damn, attacked. He drops to his knees, clutching his stomach. Junwoo looks up and orders, Hey, you standing there. Take that guy's hat off. Chanho gets closer and lifts the guy's face. Who the hell are you? Do you know who we are? But Ho has already grabbed his hand, immobilizing him. He continues to use his power on Inho's arm. Suddenly, he's electrocuted, gritting his teeth. In pain. Slowly, Minho stands up but doesn't let go of his hand, causing Inho to curse, "Ow, fuck." Then he falls unconscious to the ground, making Junu grumble. "What are you doing, you loser?" But Inho is unconscious, foaming at the mouth, unable to answer. Junu suddenly feels scared and wary. He lunges forward and knocks Minho's hat off. "You son of a bitch!" Junu shouts in fear. "What kind of joke is this?" Minho's mouth is scraped and bleeding from the fight. He raises a hand to wipe his mouth as if nothing happened. The memory from earlier appears. Hajin is resting in her room. Minho slowly closes the door, worried. Sujin outside gently reassures her son. "Don't worry anymore. Go to sleep, son. I'll take care of Grandma." Minho is still sad, blaming himself. "It's my fault. This wouldn't have happened if I had reported it right when Grandma was being attacked." Sujin comes closer and holds his hand tightly. "I've told you before, haven't I? Don't regret it and blame yourself anymore." Seeing her son burst into tears, she tries even harder to comfort Minho. "It's not your fault. It's okay." Then Minho goes into the bathroom and prepares an outfit. He covers himself completely so no one will recognize him. Then Minho stealthily climbs out of his room's window. Late at night, Minho flies through the air casually. His face is now filled with killing intent. Wanting revenge for his grandmother, Junu is so surprised he laughs. "Damn, is that you?" He foolishly tilts his head and taunts him. "What did that old hag tell you to follow us?" Minho unconsciously raises a hand to his mouth, then glares at his opponent. Junu, clueless, continues his taunts. "Revenge for your grandma? Is that it, huh?" Suddenly, Minho lunges, reaching for his face. But Junu quickly dodges the attack, causing him to miss. Minho gasps in fear. Junu takes the opportunity to counter with a punch to the face. As soon as he sees Minho, about to double over, clutching his stomach, he turns to deliver an upward kick. Junu decisively kicks Minho in the stomach. Without hesitation, he falls backwards helplessly. Junu approaches to question his enemy. "Where did you hide it, Give me that stun gun, Minho!" Doesn't answer, but quickly glances at his leg. His hand quickly summons power to the foot that's stepping on him. Junu screams loudly in pain. Seizing the opportunity, Minho grabs his hand decisively. He stands up and looks at his slowly collapsing enemy. "What's this?" Minho glares and commands, "This isn't revenge. This is for you. So you stop creating any more victims." Junu, though scared, doesn't know when to stop and continues to threaten him. "You crazy bastard." As he finishes speaking, Minho continues to use his power, making him beg, stammering, "Shit. Stop it. Let me go." Then he lets go and walks away. Don't make the weak suffer anymore. Junu, having recovered his strength, stands up. He turns and walks in another direction. He walks a good distance before daring to curse loudly, "Son of a bitch. Go to hell, you bastard." Then Minho drops his head, hugs his knees, and takes a deep breath. He thinks to himself and remembers. Thinking back, there were 3 loops just now. Where's the other one? Junhun behind him bows his head in thanks. "Thank you." Now Minho remembers and politely says, "Oh, it's nothing." He worriedly asks, "Where is it?" "That stun gun?" Minho waves his hand dismissively, making an excuse. "It's not that, I just know a few self-defense moves." Then he bows and says goodbye. "Please be careful." Junhun also leaves with a parting thank you. After he has been gone for a while, who continues to question his conscience. "I can't believe I actually helped someone. It feels so strange. Grandma, I did the right thing, didn't I?" School. An early morning class makes everyone tired. A firefighter is on the podium rambling, on and on with his lecture. Putting out a fire is just like sweeping the floor. "I'll give you a riddle. How long can you use a fire extinguisher for?" 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 50 seconds. But Sangnam isn't paying attention. He keeps looking outside. Then the teacher answers himself. The answer is 15 seconds. What he's concerned about is something else. So his eyes dart back and forth. Dongjin is gone. Sangnam remembers yesterday's promise. Something fun is going to happen at school tomorrow. Don't come if you want to live. A feeling of unease swells up inside him. He questions his conscience. "Dongjin, what are you planning to do?" At that very moment, Dongjin is descending from the sky like a sparrow. His face becomes extremely grim, with his hair fluttering in the wind. Dongjin doesn't land alone, but with containers following behind him. Just then, Minho is shoved hard against a wall. Junho glares, bullying him about the incident with Sangnam yesterday. Just pretend you didn't see anything. He threatens in a low voice, "Understand." Minho coldly looks down at the ground, obeying. Hyun Chian appears out of nowhere. "You haven't forgotten you were involved in that suicide attempt, have you? So don't say any stupid shit." Minho doesn't look at them, just nods. "Okay." Junho quickly turns to ask his buddy, "What are you gonna do now?" Nasangnam squints his eyes to calculate. "Hold on, I'm thinking." Suddenly, Minho unconsciously looks up at the sky. He's surprised to see strange objects floating high above. Minho tries to get a better look at the person and the objects up there. "Are those containers? What the?" Seeing Minho's silence, Junho growls in surprise. What's wrong? You bastard! Hyun-cheon also unconsciously looks up. What is that? Both of them scream like girls in fear. They collapse to the ground and faint, leaving Minho bewildered. He looks up again and guesses to himself. No way. Are those containers heading for the gym? But all the students are in there. At this time, Sang-nam worriedly turns to his friend. Hey, Jahyun? She replies coldly. What? He asks anxiously. Do you know where Dong-jin is? Jahyun closes her eyes and says matter-of-factly. He probably skipped class, let him sleep. But Sang-nam feels something is strange and worries. I have a bad feeling about this. And at the same time, Dong-jin high above is calculating. With these things, they will die. Whether you are the ruler of time or just a bastard. Suddenly, Dong-jin's eyes widen with all his frustration and determination. I'll make you stand out with this. As he finishes speaking, he gestures for the containers to fall where the students are gathered. Minho unconsciously screams, stammering, No! Dong-jin hears the scream and turns his head to look down. Minho also glares, gritting his teeth as he looks up. Minho looks up, staring intently at Dong-jin. He also looks down to observe his opponent. After Dong-jin gives the command, the container blocks fall in front of Minho. They fall very fast, as if pulled down by a force, just as expected. The container blocks fall straight onto the roof of the gym. A piece of debris flies off the ceiling. It lands in front of Minho. Inside the gym, everyone screams in fear and runs. This way! This way. Sang-nam is running, but still tries to look back. A container falls straight through the gym ceiling. Sang-nam trips on a rock and stumbles. He falls hard to the ground. But a slab of debris appears above his head, making Sang-nam gasp, bracing for impact. Jahyun quickly pulls him away. Get up, you idiot! Just as Jahyun pulls him away, the slab crashes to the ground. Meanwhile, Minho is using his strength to push the slab away from him. He strains and grits his teeth, as if channeling his inner power to resist. Finally, Minho manages to push the slab aside. After that, he pants, exhausted. Minho continues to look up, watching his opponent's next move. He quickly flies up and commands, Please stop! Dong-jin glances back cheerfully. So you've finally come. Who are you? Minho's eyes widen with a surprised voice. Don't tell me you did this just to find me. But Dong-jin doesn't answer and instead looks at the name tag Kang Minho. Just as I thought, he's a second year. Then he hesitates, looking down at the ground. Sang-nam is seriously injured, trapped under a slab. Dong-jin mutters a curse to himself, that bastard. Minho unconsciously pleads, I'm not the one you're looking for. So please don't do this anymore. Dong-jin grits his teeth, furious. He holds out his hand and challenges, then die. Then a series of beams shoot straight through Minho. He reaches out in pain, only able to stammer a few words. Finally, Minho slowly falls to the ground. Dong-jin bites his lip in frustration, thinking, What, it's not you? How is he not the one controlling time? Then he looks up into the sky and screams. Everything slowly turns to black and white, returning to the time when Hyunjun and Junho were bullying Minho. You haven't forgotten that you were involved in that suicide attempt? Right? He interrogates him sternly. Don't say... Before he can finish, a basketball flies towards them. It hits Junho straight in the face. Both of them quickly fall to the ground. Minho, luckily close to the wall, dodges it. Dong-jin quickly grabs the ball. Minho stammers as he looks at him. He wonders how he found him. Dong-jin picks up the ball and interrogates Kang Minho. Who are you? You were the one who caused the time loop during 5th period yesterday. Hearing this, he's immediately flustered. How did you... Suddenly, Dong-jin moves in another direction. Sharp rock spikes appear behind Minho, waiting. He realizes and turns his head. They lunge, the sharp rocks pressing against Minho's neck. Dong-jin angrily orders, Evacuate your friends. I don't know if you're the one trying to stop me or not, but you've missed a few things. Every time you activate a loop, I can feel it too. Minho is scared, his eyes darting around. I don't remember those loops. But he knows everything. He gently confesses everything. Me too. I can feel some of the loops. Every time I see you kill someone, to be honest, I know why you do it. You want to find the one who controlled the loop, right? Minho sadly lowers his head. I'm just a victim of that loop. Because of that loop, I couldn't save anyone. Dong-jin glares and repeats, Save anyone? You can save the dead. Minho nods repeatedly. That's right. But every time I save someone, time reverses. I'll help you. He holds out his hand, offering. Let's find a way out of this loop together. So please stop hurting other people. Hearing this, Dong-jin becomes extremely annoyed and frustrated. After all, we're in the same boat. How can you help me? Do you think other than killing people, there's any other way for me to confirm? Minho is in great pain from the threat, but still manages to speak. Actually, something very strange happened yesterday. Time went back further than usual. Maybe the loops we're creating have been mixed up. Dong-jin is so skeptical he freezes. What? The loops are mixed up. At this point, Dong-jin looks at him with a skeptical gaze. The loops are mixed up. Minho looks up hesitating. I'm not sure, but... He continues tense and struggling. It definitely went back further than usual, because I saved the teacher. This immediately makes Dongjin frown. He commands in a stern voice, how is that possible? Tell me everything. After he finishes, Minho begins to explain again. When you came to the classroom and attacked everyone, including the teacher, I was able to save the teacher. I know it's meaningless, but I couldn't just leave her like that. You attacked me then, and the loop was activated immediately. But something was very strange. At this point, Minho slowly emphasizes, time didn't reverse, it stopped. Dongjin can't believe his ears. What? Faced with his doubt, Minho continues, everyone except me was frozen, including you. Looking closer, it wasn't that they were frozen, but that everything was moving in slow motion. Just a moment later, it suddenly shattered. A different loop was activated. Minho lowers his head and mumbles, it seems like another loop was activated. Within that loop. It seems so. At this point, Dongjin's expression wavers slightly. Is that possible? Minho recalls that moment. When I woke up, I was back before class started. Usually time goes back to just before the teacher dies. Finishing his thought, Dongjin rests his chin on his hand and speculates. If what you're saying is true, it seems the person who activated the previous loop retained their memories. His hair casts a shadow over his face. Dongjin gets close, his voice low. Because I don't remember anything. Minho nods and replies, I think you're right. He confronts him slowly. Isn't it the last person who hijacks the loop, including the memories? Hearing this, Dongjin's eyes dart away. Questions keep popping up in his head. The loop can be stolen. How many times can we go back to the past? Just then, Dongjin suddenly holds out his hand and exclaims, interesting! As he finishes speaking, the sharp leaves around Minho's neck immediately shoot out, making him jump and stumble. Dongjin warns coldly, I won't believe it until I've verified it. Then he casually confirms again. You said you'd help me, right? Minho's lips move a hesitant in his throat. In front of them, the young men are still unconscious, sprawled on the ground. Dongjin suddenly sets a condition. If you want to help, then revive these bastards, and after I kill them. His words immediately make Minho shout in confusion. Why would you do that? Dongjin explains calmly, revive them. Then I'll kill them again to steal your loop. Minho looks at him hesitating. That's a bit. However, contrary to his worry, Dongjin just glances gently. Don't feel pressured. It's just an experiment. By now, Minho is so stressed he's sweating bullets. But it feels like you're turning me into a murderer. Dongjin gets closer, pressing him. He smirks. But it seems like they're the ones making you suffer. Do you need to feel guilty about those bastards? Minho is still hesitant. Let's say you're right. They're not good people, but to kill them. Finally, he lowers his head and mumbles, I'm sorry, I can't do it. However, Dongjin pays him no mind. He turns his head away coldly. Then there's no other way. And then to kill them until you do it. Minho stares blankly at his actions. What did you say? Dongjin nonchalantly flicks a leaf towards himself. What? Wouldn't it be better to kill that trash? I'll kill them many times. Minho panics. He lunges in front of him and screams in desperation. No, are you sure you want to kill them? He looks at him with pleading eyes. I won't help you this way. This attitude from his opponent, which immediately displeased Dongjin. He pointed the sharp tip of the leaf forward. Slow down, you bastard. Then I'll kill you first. With that, the leaf tore through the air, flying straight toward a frozen Minho. All he could do was widen his eyes, watching in terror as the leaf's reflection grew larger in his pupils. Minho instinctively raised a hand to block it. A bolt of pink lightning suddenly shot from his palm. In the lightning's blinding glare, Dongjin's usually grim face quickly filled with disbelief. He muttered to himself, unable to believe it. Revival. Isn't that his ability? Suddenly a furious gust of wind kicked up, sending leaves scattering everywhere. Dongjin clenched his fists, his voice thick with unconcealed rage. You were hiding your power, you bastard! One by one, the leaves at his feet were ripped into the air, floating. Finally, Dongjin flicked his hand. All of them shot forward, like a sudden tornado. Seeing this, Minho frantically screamed, Wait! But just then, the wind swept his body into the air. A piercing scream echoed as he flew. Dongjin frowned in annoyance. He flicked his wrist, adjusting the leaves' trajectory. They immediately obeyed his command, slamming into the wall and ricocheting back. Just then, Minho's eyes shot open as if he'd realized something. Suddenly, my trajectory? With that thought, he expertly twisted his body, dodging every sharp leaf shooting toward him like a bullet. Then, quick as a flash, Minho raised a hand to catch a leaf flying straight at his face. It stopped dead in the air as if held by an invisible force. Dongjin, who was watching his every move, was caught off guard as the leaf shot down past his cheek, too fast for him to dodge. On Dongjin's cheek, a bloody gash immediately appeared, leaving him in disbelief. Finally, Minho collapsed to the ground. He panted, exhausted, demanding, Stop this now. I don't want to fight you. By now, Dongjin had completely lost it. He clenched his jaw, growling through gritted teeth. Then do what I tell you to do. As he spoke, it felt as if Minho's throat was being squeezed. Then Dongjin flicked his hand upwards, painfully levitating him in the air. Minho's breathing grew labored. He clawed at his neck. His voice choked between ragged breaths. There has to be another way. Please, don't kill! Before he could finish, Dongjin clenched his fist and slammed his body into the brick wall behind him. Dongjin roared, unable to contain his rage. Shut up! Minho's body hit the wall with a sickening crack. He grit his teeth and screamed in agony. His body went limp as if shattered. Dongjin's sharp gaze locked onto his opponent as he commanded, choose someone for the experiment. He growled, forcing out each word, the deadline is tonight. You don't get to choose whether to kill or not. Then Dongjin added through gritted teeth, you better do what I say. If you don't want to see your family die. With that, he flicked his hand, sending Minho's entire body flying into the air. That was followed by another decisive wave of his hand, throwing Minho mercilessly against the brick wall. It made a sickening thud. His body went limp, sliding down to the hard ground. Minho was in too much pain to speak, mumbling and groaning under his breath. In front of him, Dongjin stared grimly. A few seconds later, his vision went dark. Back at school, the campus grounds were deserted. In a classroom, the teacher spoke softly. Today we have a new transfer student. He prompted her blandly. Go on, say hello. Heian heard him and immediately waved with a friendly smile. Hi, I'm Song Heian. The students below couldn't stop whispering. Damn, she's hot. Totally my type. Heian continued her introduction. Her gaze was incredibly warm. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope we can all get along. My accent is a little off since I've lived abroad. Please take care of me. I hope we can become friends. A male student shouted enthusiastically, what are you guys waiting for? Clap, clap. The girl next to him let out a long yawn. So extra. The teacher pointed. You can sit over there. Amidst the noisy crowd, only Dongjin was lost in thought, his head bowed. If the experiment is a success, then I'll be able to summon the time controller. He pursed his lips, silently calculating. That's right. I should use that time loop. This is the only way to destroy that bastard. In his heart, Dongjin was absolutely certain. This experiment has to succeed. Just as Heian walked past him, she glanced at him with a mysterious smile. In the blink of an eye, it was evening after school. Minho was walking and talking on the phone. Yeah, Mom. I'm on my way home from my friend's house. As soon as the name was spoken, he repeated in alarm, Dongjin. Minho's pace immediately quickened. He thought to himself, no, Mom. He broke into a desperate sprint, muttering, Grandma. The moment he arrived, Minho violently shoved the door open with all his might. Sujin glanced at him and asked, Why are you in such a rush? Your friend is still waiting. Minho bowed his head hastily, taking off his shoes. Where's Grandma, Mom? Her words made Minho's jaw clench. She's in the living room. Don't worry about it. Go hang out with your friend. Minho didn't hesitate. He ran straight to his bedroom and threw the door open. And in that instant, he saw Dongjin sitting calmly in a chair, playfully toying with apple slices that were floating in midair. The moment he sensed Minho's presence, he turned his head. His eyes were as sharp as blades, not hiding his hostility in the slightest. Minho slowly stepped inside, his voice laced with annoyance. You? How do you know where I live? Dongjin smirked calmly. Your ID card. When you passed out. Hearing this, Minho trembled with rage. He scowled, trying to control himself. Get out, Dongjin! A floating fork speared a slice of apple. Then he asked, Want one? Your mom peeled them for me. Faced with Dongjin's nonchalant attitude, Minho snapped. I said get out. The second he finished speaking, the fork in front of him shot forward and slammed into the wooden door right behind him. Minho's eyes widened in shock. Dongjin tilted his head slightly and said, Sorry, hand slipped. The loud noise from the room quickly drew Sujin's attention. Her voice echoed from outside. Do you need anything, honey? Minho replied grimly. No, Mom, she nodded. Okay, then. Dongjin leisurely swiveled his chair to face him. Face to face, he asked. Have you decided yet? Who's it going to be, the one to die and be revived? Minho stubbornly looked away. No matter how many times you ask, I will never kill anyone. But before he could finish, the scene around him shook violently. A purple light flashed, illuminating his horrified face. Minho's eyes widened. He thought, the time loop? He stammered, what did you do? At this, Dongjin smirked mockingly. What, you're surprised I already killed your mom? And you too, of course. Minho stood frozen, so stunned he was speechless. What? His fists clenched, knuckles turning white. His body trembled uncontrollably. Tears welled up in Minho's eyes. Amidst the turmoil in his heart, he gritted his teeth, forcing out each word like a resentful roar. You're not human, you monster! However, his words had no effect on Dongjin. He glanced over coolly, threatening, your grandma's next. At this, Minho was utterly confused. But the loop being disrupted, that could just be a guess. So why is the experiment so important? Dongjin looked him straight in the eye and explained. Of course it's important. Because I need to summon that bastard. Minho repeated hesitantly, that bastard. You mean the one who controls the loop? The fork in the door slowly pulled itself free. Dongjin's deep voice rang out. That's right, the time controller. He casually caught it and continued, from what I've gathered, I already told you during 5th period. Dongjin then used it to spear the apple slice. My plan is to disrupt the loop until it screws up the flow of time. Dongjin thought grimly, if he's going to mess with me, I'll mess with him right back. Just like the curse that bastard put on me. His words only fueled Minho's rage. He gritted his teeth, thinking resentfully. No way. How many more people is he going to kill? First, I should just agree to his plan and look for a chance later. In that moment, Minho reluctantly nodded. I know what you're trying to do. Now get out. The more Dongjin listened, the wider his grin became. I'll do what you want. Then he slowly stood up. Minho added, I'll text you the time and place tomorrow. Dongjin moved in close. He spoke in a low voice. I'll be the one who decides who we experiment on. Right after that, he slammed his hand against the door behind Minho. The rough impact sent a shudder through the frame, pinning him in place. Dongjin continued with amusement in his voice. I've already found a very interesting test subject. Minho looked at him tensely, warning, Don't you dare touch my mom or my grandma, because I won't just stand by and watch. A few minutes later, in the quiet of a small alley, Dongjin's footsteps echoed slowly, as steady as a clock's ticking. He looked down at his phone, the screen's glow casting an undisguised look of interest on his face. There's one more. On the screen was a photo of a smiling Minyoung. Dongjin continued in a low voice. Don't you think so, Minho? After leaving Minho's house, Dongjin walked silently down the deserted street. Not a soul in sight. He clutched his phone in his hand, his eyes filled with a strange excitement. There's still one person left. On the screen was a picture of Min Yuan. Am I right, Minho? A hand appeared at the door, rapping gently a few times. Sujin slowly wheeled herself forward. Her voice was full of hospitality. Minho's on his way. You can have this while you wait. At that moment, Dongjin was sitting silently with his back to her. The shadows obscured, half of his face hiding his expression. Finally, Dongjin tilted his head slightly and replied flatly, Yes, thank you. He took the plate of sliced apples, then suddenly asked, By the way, when will Minho's father be home? Sujin lowered her head, her face clouded with sadness. Minho's father passed away in a car accident 5 years ago. Then she gently began to wheel away. It's all right, don't mind me, you just rest now. However, at that moment, Dongjin suddenly probed further. His voice carried an unreadable hidden meaning. Ma'am, wait, does Minho have a girlfriend? Sujin stopped in her tracks. A girlfriend? Minho's never dated anyone. Dongjin's eyes narrowed with interest. Is that so? There's a girl standing next to Minho in this photo? He must be hiding her from you. Then he quickly held his phone out to her. Do you know her? The moment she saw the photo, Sujin immediately burst out laughing. Oh, you mean Min Young? That's Minho's little sister? Dongjin asked curiously. He has a sister. She nodded slowly. Yes, they're 3 years apart. But because of family circumstances, she's been living with her aunt since she was 10. Dongjin smiled in response. No wonder she looks so much like Minho. And just then, the two forks on the table suddenly vibrated lightly, then shot up, hovering in the air. They spun gently for a moment, then shot straight toward the stunned Sujin. Before she could even react, Dongjin's voice cut through the air. His voice grew colder with each word. But ma'am, his hair began to whip around him, as his eyes began to glow with a mysterious light. You need to tell me what school she goes to. A faint light shone down, reflecting on Sujin's face, revealing her absolute terrified confusion. A fork silently drifted closer to her throat. It was only inches away. Dongjin continued his threat. I have something important I need to do. Back in the present, Dongjin was still staring down at his phone. Minho pressed his lips together, a knot of frustration tightening in his chest. In his mind, he let out a silent roar. What did that bastard do to my mom? I can't forgive him. Just then, Sujin, seeing her son standing blankly by the window, approached him. Oh my, what happened to your uniform? Minho bit his lip, his eyes filled with a complicated emotion, wanting to speak but stopping himself. He leaned down, took his mother's hand, and explained, I fell on the way home. Sujin's voice rose with worry. Are those kids still giving you a hard time? Minho shook his head. No. He squeezed his mother's hand tighter. I'm sorry, Mom. Seeing him like this, Sujin was confused. What is it? Did something happen? Minho hesitated. It's just right now. Hajin walked over slowly, her hands behind her back. Do you need Grandma to sew that for you? Sujin quickly refused. No, Mom, we can get someone else to do it. But she pressed on. But he needs it for tomorrow. Who's going to fix it this late? Finally, Hajin looked up at her grandson and insisted. Listen to your grandmother. Minho stood up, rubbing his neck awkwardly. Yeah, okay. Then he asked caringly. Grandma, would you like a leg massage? But Hajin just turned away, her voice soft but firm. Go do your homework. Minho's hand froze in midair. His eyes fell filled with sadness. A heavy feeling settled in his chest. "Mom, Grandma, I'll protect you." A little while later, at a deserted construction site in a small hidden corner, a blinding pink light suddenly flashed. Minho, wearing a hooded jacket, raised his hand, watching the electric arcs crawl between his fingers. Minho frowned, trying to remember what happened before. How did I do that before? Back then, when I instinctively put my hand up to block it, the leaf just stopped. It wasn't intentional. Then it just shot straight forward and grazed Dongjin's face. He thought regretfully, I did it without even realizing it. With that thought, Minho bent down and picked up a rock. He stared at it, wondering, should I try it again? Immediately, Minho raised his hand. Arcs of lightning thin as silver thread began to crawl between his fingers, hissing softly in the quiet air. Then a second later, the rock in his palm dropped to the ground. Minho silently crouched and picked it up, calculating in his head. So that's how it is. He tossed it up and down. Questions kept popping into his mind. Do I have to use my whole arm? Breaking from his thoughts, Minho suddenly yanked his arm back and violently threw the rock into the air. A powerful bolt of lightning shot from his palm, latching onto the rock. It then shot toward a neatly stacked pile of bricks in front of him. Instantly, a loud explosion rang out. Smoke and dust filled the air. As the dust began to settle, a large, deep hole was visible in the pile of bricks, a clear sign of an extraordinary power. Minho, witnessing this, couldn't help but be amazed. He thought, so, I can do this. He looked down at his arm. I need to practice more. Should I try to make it stronger? Minho then raised his hand toward the pile of bricks again. Familiar arcs of lightning quickly appeared, crackling around his fingertips, swirling and extending. The next moment, a massive explosion erupted. The blast threw Minho backward. He muttered in pain, it's no use. Feeling hot, Minho took off his cap and mask. His face was filled with frustration. No matter what I throw at him, he can just block it with his telekinesis. Come to think of it, I have a problem with defense, too. He recalled the scene. Once he catches me, I'm helpless. Is there any way? Minho lowered his head, his mind racing. I can only attack with my hands, so I have to be fast. It would be even better if I could dodge his attacks. Speaking of which, he couldn't help but let out a frustrated sigh. Easier said than done. Can I really do that? Just then in the distance, a figure suddenly appeared. It was unclear how long they had been there. Minho continued to lament. I wish I had someone to practice fighting with. Back in the city, the streets were deserted, not a soul in sight. On the rooftop of a tall building, a large figure suddenly appeared, sitting idly. Hyunjun crossed his arms, bored. Why isn't that bastard here yet? He remembered that time. Sangnam had urgently pulled his arm, pleading, Senior. Senior Hyunjun, wake up. Annoyed, Hyunjun shoved him away. Damn it! You're too damn loud. I'm awake, you punk. Keep it down. Sangnam leaned in, asking anxiously, what do we do now? He shook his head, annoyed. I don't know, damn it. Feels like we got hit by something, but I don't remember what. Hyunjun couldn't help but curse. Who the hell was that bastard? Pisses me off. Just then, Sangnam had suddenly called out, Senior. Hyunjun quickly held up a hand to stop him. Wait, don't wake it up. He tilted his head to look at him. His voice immediately became deep and serious. Hey, I have something to tell you. Tonight, meet on the rooftop. Sangnam was confused. What? Why? Hyunjun grinned slyly. Don't be a coward, bastard. We're not gonna fight. Come alone. Got it. Back in the present. Hyunjun took a drag from his cigarette, sighing boredly. Just then, from the distance, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed. Hyunjun teased, so you're finally here, Sangnam. Why so quiet? Is this what you wanted? And just then, a blinding purple light shone directly in his face, making his eyes fly open in terror. Hyunjun was so terrified his body shook violently. He dropped his cigarette, stammering. What are you? The figure's footsteps drew closer, carrying a strange, oppressive aura. Although Hyunjun was shaking like a leaf, he still managed to growl a warning. This is crazy. Wait, don't come any closer, I said, stay back. His bandaged hand unconsciously gripped the railing's edge, trying to hold on to his last bit of balance. A sharp pain flared as the wound on his wrist was bent back. Hyunjun howled in pain, clutching his arm. His face went pale from the sudden spasm. A few seconds later, his large body staggered, teetering on the edge of the roof. In the moment of free fall, Hyunjun screamed in panic. His screams echoed across the rooftop, frantic and desperate. Damn it! His screams echoed, then faded and finally went silent. Just then Sangnam arrived. His face was covered in sweat from rushing. I'm sorry, Senior, I had to sneak away so I'm a bit late. But there was no one on the rooftop. Sangnam let out a surprised, huh, Senior isn't here yet. Confused, he put his phone to his ear and muttered, did he'd already leave after waiting for me? He should have at least called. The moment he pressed call, a familiar ringtone echoed from nearby. Sangnam froze. He looked around, surprised. Huh, he must be here. Without hesitating, Sangnam followed the sound, calling out, Senior, are you here? But in that instant, What met Sangnam's eyes was Hyunjun's large body sprawled on the ground below. Beneath him was a spreading pool of bright red blood. Sangnam's eyes widened in terror. He screamed, "Senior!" The next morning at school, students were starting to file in. Jahyun approached with a friendly smile. "Haeun, I'll text you." Haeun glanced back. "You can just add me to the group chat." Jahyun paused, surprised. "Oh, I'll do that then." Just then she noticed the atmosphere behind her. Sangnam's somber face made her suspicious. "What happened?" Dongjin next to him is acting weird too. "Why is the mood so tense? This isn't like them at all." With that thought, Jahyun walked over to tease him. "Hey, why are you so quiet today? How come you're not going on about my Dongjin like you always do?" Sangnam waved her away wearily. "Don't talk to me right now. I couldn't sleep at all last night." Jahyun asked, confused, "Why not? What's wrong?" The memory of last night surfaced in Sangnam's mind. The wail of the ambulance siren was deafening. Paramedics had arrived and were carrying Hyunjun's body away. His eyes were squeezed shut, completely motionless. Back in the present, Sangnam lowered his head wearily. "It's better if you don't know. This has nothing to do with you." Jahyun stood her ground patiently. "I was really worried." She crossed her arms, puffing out her cheeks. "What's going on?" "I'm so curious. Did they fight? I'm worried." "What's wrong with him?" Then Jahyun's gaze swept over to Dongjin. What was he doing just now? But just then, she saw something. Him zooming in on a picture of Minyoung. Jahyun's eyes widened in shock. "A girl!" She clenched her fists and quickly looked away. "Why is that psycho staring at that picture? What is this? I'm getting goosebumps." Just then, Chanha barged into the classroom shouting, "Hey! Now Sangnam." He stomped over to Sangnam's desk and kicked his chair away. Jahyun was also caught off guard and stumbled backward. His chair flew to the corner of the room. Sangnam quickly caught her. "Are you okay?" "Jahyun!" She gritted her teeth, about to curse, "You!" Then Jahyun yelled angrily, "What are you doing in our classroom? If you want to fight, take it outside." Just then, Dongjin's attention was also drawn by the noise. Channa completely ignored her. He stared straight into Sangnam's eyes, confronting him. "Hey, what the hell is going on?" "What happened to my brother?" Sangnam avoided his gaze. "Last night, Senior Hyunjun told me to meet him. When I got there, he was already like that. So I called the police." His attitude only made Channa angrier. "Don't give me that crap. This is all your fault, you bastard. Who else but you could have left him like that?" Sangnam pursed his lips as he was yelled at. "My brother is still in the ICU." Jahyun looked at him, confused. "What are they talking about?" She leaned in, questioning him urgently. "No way. You didn't do anything right." Behind them, Dongjin quietly put his phone away, his face completely devoid of expression. Jahyun continued, "Hey, listen to me. I'm asking you what happened." A little later on the school rooftop, the three of them stood confronting each other. Sangnam explained nervously, "I called the police last night. My parents came too." Channa crossed his arms, not believing a word. "Really? How come I didn't know about it?" John He, standing next to them, took a drag from his cigarette and chimed in. "You were probably sleeping again." Channa pursed his lips, thinking, "Then why didn't Mom wake me up?" He suddenly held out his hand as if offering an apology. "Sorry for the misunderstanding." Sangnam slowly reached out his own hand, preparing to shake it. "It's all right." But just then, Channa slapped his hand away contemptuously. "You really think I was going to say that?" He yelled in Sangnam's face. "I'm not going to believe a word you say until my brother wakes up." Oh, I get it." Helpless, he turned to leave. "If you're done talking, I'm out." Suddenly, Chanho spoke up, probing. "Are you going to tell Dongjin the truth?" Sangnam gave him a cold glance. "That's enough." He frowned and continued, "Dongjin has nothing to do with this. I don't know why you called me up here, but I just wanted to apologize." Chanho, annoyed, questioned him. "What are you sorry for?" "For making my brother pass out," Sangnam answered sorrowfully. "That too, but it's my fault his hand got hurt." Chanho asked directly. "So you're the one who did it?" He kept pressing, "Did you two fight?" Sangnam denied it in a low voice. "No, I just didn't want things to get worse. So I didn't think that was a good idea." He began to explain. "I lost control without even realizing it." Finally, Sangnam looked at him in silence. His tone was gentle but threatening. "I'm asking you. Stay away from Dongjin." Chanho frowned and replied firmly. "We'll see. Maybe Dongjin was the one who pushed my brother." Sangnam shook his head in disbelief. "No way, Dongjin would never do that." And then at that very moment, Dongjin's voice suddenly echoed in his head. "I've killed someone now." As soon as he thought of it, Sangnam's eyes suddenly shot wide open in horror. Chanho quickly noticed his reaction. "Why'd you suddenly freak out? That's sketchy as hell," Sangnam stammered in reply. "It's nothing." Then he thought to himself, "What I'm thinking is..." Chanho continued scornfully, "This bastard can't even focus. Whenever Dongjin comes up, just kidding, loser. How could that punk push my brother?" Just then he got a call. "What, at school, all right?" John He, who was nearby, asked, "Is your mom here yet?" Chanho nodded. "Yeah." Sangnam kept recalling Dongjin's words. "Something interesting is going to happen at school tomorrow." "No way." Dongjin returned to the school campus. Minho was grabbed by the collar by a group of thugs groaning in pain. "Wait," Junho contemptuously shoved him away. He raised an eyebrow, questioning him. "You bastard. You're the one who tried to kill Hyunjun, right?" Minho immediately denied it. "I would never do something like that." But Hanjin had completely lost his cool. "It was you bastard!" Junho continued to interrogate him. "What were you doing last night?" Minho lowered his head and answered honestly. "I went home after work, for real." However, Junho completely snapped. He shoved him hard on the shoulder and yelled, "What home did you go to, you bastard?" He threatened angrily, "If you keep spewing bullshit, I'll kill you." Minho rubbed his face in pain. "I'm not lying." Jiho glanced around, trying to recall every possible suspect. Who else could stand up to Hyunshin? Junho answered immediately. "Nasangnam is the only one I can think of." Hanjin suddenly spoke up. "No, there's one more. The one with the biggest grudge." Jiho turned his head doubtfully and asked, "Who?" He guessed Bak Dongsu. Jiho repeated, "Bak Dongsu, that suicidal bastard." Hanjin rested his chin on his hand and nodded slightly. "Maybe his ghost showed up." Jiho shot him an annoyed glance and cursed, "Damn, you want to get slapped?" Junho chimed in, "Come on, you asshole." What if he fainted because he was surprised by his ghost? He immediately cursed, "Get lost, loser." Meanwhile, at the middle school, two female students at the canteen sat across from each other eating lunch. Just then, Eugene held a few red and white pills mixed together in her palm. Minyoung asked blankly, "What are those pills?" Eugene took a sip of water and replied calmly, "Pills that will make you prettier." After speaking, she took her lunch tray to leave, not forgetting to add, "If you take them, you'll lose weight. And your skin will get better, too." Minyoung teased in disbelief, "What, no way?" A girl chased after her, begging curiously, "Why are you taking them alone?" "Let me have some, too." Eugene glanced at her and asked back, "These are psych meds. Are you sure you want some?" The girl was surprised. "Psych meds, why?" Just as the two girls were talking, a shout suddenly came from a distance. "Hey, do Eugene?" Sungbin questioned her irritably. "Why didn't you answer my calls?" Eugene, annoyed, didn't even bother to look. "You're not my boyfriend anymore." "Can you get lost?" Minyoung asked in shocked curiosity. "You guys broke up." Now Sungmin, refusing to give up, tapped the girl's shoulder. "Hey, are you just going to let it end like this?" Eugene replied flatly, "I don't think that's what you want." The girl coldly turned her head and continued, "Should I expose everything you did to me?" Right after that, Eugene angrily shoved his hand away. "Get lost if you don't want to be humiliated, you idiot." Her words immediately made Sungmin grind his teeth in frustration. Annoyed a little later on the school grounds, the two girls sat together on a bench eating ice cream. After Eugene told her everything, Minyoung shouted in amazement, "For real, he hit you." Eugene lowered her head and replied sorrowfully, "It wasn't just once. The fact that I put up with it is pretty amazing, right? He was awful." Minyoung clicked her tongue in disapproval. "I can't believe he's like that." Eugene was so angry she threw her ice cream stick. "He always has such a straight face." Minyoung shouted in astonishment, "What do you mean?" The girl held her head fed up. "That idiot, no." "Anyway, these last few days have been a tough time for me." Minyoung sadly encouraged her, "Hang in there, Eugene." Just then the girl glanced over hesitantly. "I have something I'm worried about too." Eugene was confused. "What is it?" Minyoung began to explain, "This weekend is my aunt's birthday, but I don't know what to get her." Eugene immediately suggested, "My mom really loved it when I gave her that collagen essence." Minyoung's eyes filled with a complicated expression. "Is it expensive?" The girl smiled and shook her head. "Not that expensive." Then Eugene asked again, "How come you care more about your aunt than your mom?" The girl quickly explained, "Because my aunt raised me since I was 10. Just then, from a distance, a male student called out, "Hey, Kang Minyoung." He reminded her, "Your brother's looking for you." Minyoung was surprised. "My brother." After reaching the school gate, Minyoung spoke slowly, "Bro, why didn't you call me?" But all that answered her was a cold silhouette, leaning against a utility pole. Dongjin glanced coldly towards the girl. His whole body emitted a strange light. Minyoung's eyes widened and she hesitated. "Who are you?" As soon as she saw Dongjin, Minyoung was a bit confused. She asked curiously, "Who are you?" Dongjin happily introduced himself. "Hi, Minyoung. I'm a friend of Minho's." The girl immediately replied obediently, "Oh, hello." Then Minyoung asked him, "Where's my brother?" He answered, "He went to buy something. He said he had something he wanted to give you." The girl asked blankly, "For me, a birthday present for my aunt," Dongjin said awkwardly. "I forgot he said we should wait at a coffee shop." "Is that okay?" Minyoung replied, "Yes, sir." Hearing that, he exclaimed excitedly, "All right, let's go." A moment later, the two of them were walking together on a deserted street, on their way to the coffee shop. Suddenly, Dongjin asked Minyoung, "Can you call Minho?" The girl replied, "Just a second." As soon as she finished speaking, she took out her phone and stared intently at the screen. Suddenly, Dongjin shouted in surprise, "Call Minho, there you are!" Minyoung, thinking Minho had arrived, lowered her phone. She called out excitedly, "Bro!" But right after that, Dongjin, with an ice-cold expression, instantly used his power. Minyoung, standing opposite him, was pushed back by his power, causing her to let out a pained scream. He squeezed her neck so tightly that she could only mumble, "Bro?" Then she passed out. The moment she fell, he quickly reached out his hand to catch her. One of Young's hands holding the phone slowly went limp. The phone also slipped from her hand accordingly, and so the phone remained suspended in midair, slowly falling to the ground. Dongjin quickly caught the phone. He held it gently in his hand. Then he looked down at the girl with a sad expression. In a corner of the residential area, Minyo was sitting thoughtfully on an outdoor bench. He frowned in thought. Hyunchin is in critical condition. What no way Sangnam would do that, he said to himself. It must have been Dongjin. He's planning to turn Hyunchin into a test subject. He remembered that moment. Doubt arose in his heart. But why? Why did he push him from the rooftop? He shouldn't have killed him if he wanted him as a test subject. What the hell is that Dongjin planning? Suddenly his phone rang. He picked up the phone. On the screen it showed little sister was calling. He accepted the call. He put the phone to his ear and said confused, "Hello?" Minyoung. On the other end, no one answered. He asked again, "Hello, what's up?" Just then Dongjin's voice came through. "Kang Minho." Hearing Dongjin's voice, Minho's eyes widened. He shouted in shock, "Kim Dongjin, why are you on the other end?" Dongjin revealed a sly smile and calmly announced, "I've decided to use her as the test subject. The person you have to kill today." Minho's mind already jumped to the worst-case scenario. He tried to reassure himself, no. However, reality is always cruel. Dongjin emphasized, leaving him stunned. "Is your little sister Minyoung?" Minho remembered the time at school when he was shoved hard against the wall. He wondered suspiciously, how did he know I have a sister? The moment he fell to the ground, Dongjin had taken the phone from his pocket. "I thought I changed my wallpaper," he thought. He probably thought I had a girlfriend. Dongjin spoke, clearing up the confusion in his mind. "Your mom has a picture of you and your sister. I had to kill her 13 times to find out what school the kid goes to." Hearing this, Minho shouted in anger, "Where are you?" He calmly replied, "Don't get so excited. I'll send you the address. Just go there. Follow the plan. Because I've prepared something else. Just in case you refuse to kill your sister." Minho angrily retorted, "Tell me where you are, you bastard." However, contrary to his own anxious state, Dongjin just said, "You seem pretty angry. Are you really the Kang Minho I know? I'll text you the address. You come too. Unsim Hospital. See you later." At that time, the sky began to pour down heavy raindrops. People around scrambled for cover. Only Minho remained standing there. He lowered his phone. He bit his lip hard. "I can't believe he took Minyoung. Damn it. Minyoung Big Bro will save you. Just wait a little longer." A little while later at Unsim Hospital, Minho panting thought to himself, "Which floor?" And then he yelled, his voice echoing throughout the hospital floor. "Minyoung, I'm here. Minyoung, if you can hear me, answer me, Minyoung." Suddenly a figure appeared behind Minho. That person was holding a long wooden stick in their hand, grabbing his attention. Without any hesitation, that guy raised the wooden stick, startling Minho. He exclaimed, "What the?" Thanks to his quick reflexes, Minho managed to dodge the guy's attack. At that moment, he widened his eyes in a daze to get a good look at who that guy was. But what he observed made him feel a sense of disbelief. A puppet was hanging from the ceiling. It had just attacked him. Minho could only exclaim, "What?" At that moment, the sound of the wooden stick hitting the floor hard created a sound that echoed throughout the entire hospital floor. The puppet holding that wooden stick had on its face not a single bit of expression. Its eyes were tightly shut, its cheeks hollowed out like a twig. That puppet just floated there in midair, looking towards Minho, who was sitting in front of it. Minho thought to himself in horror, "What, is he dead? Or just passed out?" Then he turned and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Kim Dongjin! Stop hiding and show your face." Then, as if he realized something, he said nothing more and looked at the puppet in front of him. Suddenly it swung the wooden stick, aiming straight for Minho's head. Luckily, he dodged in time. He frowned, gritted his teeth, and silently cursed, "Damn it!" Just then, the puppet raised the wooden stick high, which it held tightly in its hand right in front of Minho's eyes, and then it aimed straight down at his position. However, he was very quick to dodge the attack in time. Instantly, he got up, turned, and ran away. As he ran, he looked back at the puppet, thinking, "Oh man, where is he hiding? Hey, Kim Dongjin, show your face." Suddenly, he felt that there was no one behind him anymore. He immediately turned his head back. The moment he no longer saw that puppet, he was startled and exclaimed, "Huh, it disappeared." But sensing something was wrong, he turned his head back. There was something in front of him. That made his eyes widen in astonishment. Instantly, in a flash, Minho was pushed back. He slammed painfully against the hospital wall. Then he roared, "You bastard!" Not long after, down the hallway ahead, a figure was approaching. The puppet, holding the wooden stick that had broken at the end, floated closer towards Minho. It slowly glided past in front of his eyes, but then the wooden puppet sensed that Minho was nearby. It immediately turned around. Minho shouted, "Why are you doing this to me? Let me see my sister, wait a minute, so—" But at this moment, the puppet, without any hesitation, lifted the wooden stick and attacked Minho. The splintered end of the wooden stick flew towards him like an arrow, but the direction of the wooden stick was to stab outwards from Minho's face. The wooden puppet instantly stopped all its movements. Minho, on the other hand, was panting heavily with anxiety. Then a voice rang out, causing the wooden puppet to bow its head. "By my command, this way." After giving the order, Dongjin turned and casually told Minho, "Your sister, she's upstairs." Minho, freed from Dongjin's controlling power, hastily fell with a thud to the floor. He threatened with a growl, What did you do to her? I'll kill you." Dongjin looked at him with the eyes of a killer. In just a moment, Minho ran frantically up the stairs to the next floor. As soon as he saw his sister lying on a chair next to Dongjin, he shouted, asking, "Kang Minyoung, are you okay, Minyoung?" As soon as Minho got closer, the puppet raised its wooden stick to block the way, and Dongjin exclaimed, "Hold on now, not so fast. Did you forget something?" But Minho retorted, "What did you do to her?" He told him in a soft voice, "Calm down, she's just unconscious." Minho asked further, "And who is this guy? Why do you keep dragging innocent people into this?" Dongjin answered, "Just a homeless guy. I'm giving you a choice. If you don't want to kill your sister, and then you can just kill him. Let me repeat myself. This is just a simple experiment. All you have to do is kill him and then revive him. After that, I'll kill him again to create 2 consecutive loops." Hearing this, thoughts began to form in Minho's head. "I have to stay calm. Without me, he can't do anything. I should pretend to help him and wait for an opportunity to strike." Then he spoke up, asking, "Can you kill people if you control them like that?" Dongjin explained, "If I could, you would have been dead a long time ago. I've tried cutting off limbs, disguising the death as an accident, and killing people by controlling others. I've tried everything, but it's no use. No matter what I do, as soon as someone dies, the loop happens again." Minho shouted angrily, "Why are you so obsessed with killing people? Still don't get the reason. The time controller keeps getting in your way." Then Dongjin cursed at him, "You fool! I will become the judge of humanity. Nothing is more important than killing to me. Killing is mandatory for my goal of destroying humanity." Minho's face went blank as he thought, destroying what the hell is he talking about? He continued, "At first, I thought the time controller was hindering me just because of the killing, but after seeing your ability, I changed my mind. If both killing and resurrecting are not allowed, then doesn't that mean the controller of time is both the reason and the purpose for keeping the world in balance? Who do you think it is? Don't tell me you still don't have a single clue by now." At this point, outside Unsim Hospital, it was the middle of the night. The rain was falling heavier and heavier. A cold voice rang out, "Who do you think it is? Don't tell me you still don't have a single clue by now." Suddenly, a clap of thunder erupted outside. The light flashed onto Dongjin's ice-cold face, as well as flashing into the room where Minho's sister, and the puppet were sitting. Minho, with an extremely shocked expression, exclaimed, "No way. You mean it's not human?" Dongjin chuckled softly in reply, "Bingo. It's too powerful to be called human. The only logical reason is that it's beyond that. We can narrow it down to 3 possible explanations as to why it keeps getting in our way. First, there's a special reason to prevent the use of superpowers. Second, killing and resurrecting are forbidden things for the order and balance of the world." Just then, a centipede was crawling on the wall. It was pierced straight through by a knife, while it was writhing in pain. Dongjin continued, "Third, if the 2 things above happen, it will lead to a terrible disaster. The cause of that disaster is you. Me or someone else, I don't know. But..." The centipede continued to crawl with the upper half of its body. He said, "But for whatever reason, I will have to see that bastard thing with my own eyes. I will make it pay for what it has done." Hearing this, Minho fell into deep thought. Maybe he's right. But how do you fight a transcendent entity that can control time? The other half of the centipede's body fell down the next second. After the knife left the wall, Dongjin retrieved the knife back to him. He asked probingly, "Got it. Now choose, your sister or the homeless guy?" Minho raised his voice in reply. "Do you even have to ask?" Then he raised his hand and pointed without any hesitation. He chose the puppet guy standing in front of him. Dongjin asked him, "So in the end you still choose the stranger? What weapon do you want to use? Wooden stick, knife, take your pick." Minho very quickly grabbed the wooden stick tightly. He decisively raised it, preparing to attack the puppet guy. Dongjin, sitting on the side, reminded him in a serious tone, "And don't try any clever tricks, unless you want to see your sister get hurt." Minho gritted his teeth and thought, "Damn this plan. What do I do now? Should I save Minyoung first?" His hand started to tremble. But if she gets hurt in the process... Just then, a voice rang out, "Minho." Minyoung sat up. She asked blankly, "Where am I?" Dongjin glanced over at her and said, "Hello. The girl followed this voice and looked, and in an instant, her face turned pale. She screamed, calling out, "Minho!" Seeing Min Young in a panic, Minho shouted worriedly, "Min Young!" when he saw him reaching out his hand, intending to attack his sister. He rushed over and yelled, "Don't you touch her!" However, something had just happened. Minho for a moment seemed like he had lost his soul. He exclaimed in confusion, "Huh? The loop? Min Young? Wait, what was that loop just now? Don't tell me you—" But Dongjin cut him off. "Don't worry, I didn't kill her. The loop happened because I killed you. The next time you get any closer, I'll kill her." Minho bit his lip hard and thought to himself, "Damn it. I have no other way. I have to fight him." Min Young, terrified, said to him, "Minho, I'm scared." He gently comforted her. "Close your eyes and cover your ears, okay? I'll explain everything later." The girl listened to his words, immediately covered her ears with her hands, crying and exclaiming, "Why, you're scaring me." He replied, "You trust me, right? Just wait a little longer." The girl said fearfully, "I want to go home." Then Minho turned and said to Dongjin, "I choose the knife. I think one stab would be easier to kill with than having to hit multiple times with a stick." He coldly replied, "Suit yourself." The moment Minho held the knife tightly in his hand, he sighed and looked at the puppet in front of him, thinking, "I only have one chance. Just do as I've practiced. I'll count to 3 and then begin. 1, 2, 3. Take this." But at that moment he activated his power. The knife, like an arrow, shot straight towards Dongjin's position. Seeing the knife flying towards him, he laughed angrily, a smile full of contempt. "Ah, you fool." Then he quickly raised his hand and changed the direction of the knife. The knife very quickly stabbed straight up into the ceiling. Dongjin said mockingly, "Did you really think you could take me down with something like that?" However, before he could finish speaking, the puppet guy flew towards him. Dongjin clicked his tongue softly and then pushed it to one side with his hand. The puppet immediately crashed into Min Young, who was sitting and covering her ears nearby, getting hit. The girl screamed in fear, but in front of Dongjin, at that moment there was no sign of Minho. He hastily stood up from his chair. Realizing this was his chance, Minho ran up from behind. He reached out his hands and grabbed tightly. Dongjin burst out laughing and asked, "What are you going to do by grabbing me from behind?" "Let go before I get mad." Minho retorted, "You killed my mom and kidnapped my sister. Even if I die, I won't help you." As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately used his power, reaching out his hand and touching Dongjin's body. The lightning from his hand immediately made Dongjin feel pain. He kept struggling and screaming. Only Min Young could be seen sitting on the floor, covering her ears with her hands, at the same time screaming in fear. And Minho at this moment was using all his strength to hold Dongjin back. As he was being restrained, he glared and gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, "This hurts like hell. It's like my body is stuck to a magnet. I can't move." He at this point also frowned and gritted his teeth, wondering to himself, he should have passed out by now. How is he still conscious? At the same time, a thought appeared in Dongjin's mind. "Damn it! I can't. I have to get out." And then he immediately gathered his momentum, and at the same time lunged straight forward. Next, both Dongjin and Minho both jumped out the window at the same time, causing shards of glass to fly out from the side. As those shards of glass flew past his face, he squeezed his eyes shut and let out a cry. After that, Minho slightly opened his eyes to look at him, and then frowned, thinking to himself, the shockwave has no effect on him. So next, Minho held out his hand, and then he, without holding back, used his power to push Dongjin hard forward. After taking that unexpected blow, his whole body slammed hard into the stone wall in front of Minho. At this moment was the scene of him lying motionless. Around him were still the scattered shards of broken glass. He also took this golden opportunity to immediately raise his fist, and then decisively rush straight towards Dongjin, who was unconscious. But suddenly he opened his eyes wide and looked straight at Minho. Minho, upon seeing this scene, his face showed a bit of surprise, but still showed no signs of stopping. Only a loud sound was heard. A loud collision echoed through the space. The shards of glass also flew everywhere at the same time. At the same time, an image appeared of a little blood spitting from Minho's mouth. He, after taking a punch from Dongjin, his whole body slammed hard backwards. He, with a smirk on his lips, arrogantly gave his assessment. That was well calculated, I'll give you that. Only Minho could be seen with his 2 arms no longer intact, glaring, with a look of unwillingness to accept defeat. He at this point was still constantly trying to move his deformed arm. At the same time, Minho's whole body trembled as he glared, frowned, and shouted. Seeing the scene before him, he squinted and smirked, a thoughtful expression. But other feelings are interesting. At the same time, a wooden bat appeared behind Dongjin's head, being swung down by someone. There was just a loud thud, and the one who struck was none other than Min Young. He immediately whipped his head around to look, snarling in anger. "You son of a bitch." When Minho saw Min Young, he broke out in a cold sweat and called out worriedly, "Min Young," suddenly. Dongjin gritted his teeth and swung, slapping the girl right across the face. He watched his little sister lying on the ground after that hit and screamed. Minho kept yelling, "How dare you!" At the same time, the knife that was stuck in the ceiling looked like it was about to fall. With a frightened expression, he kept warning her, "No Minyoung, run." The knife had already left the ceiling and was falling straight down. Seeing this, Minho was startled and yelled, "Hey, don't you dare." Minho was now sitting on the ground, trembling with fear. The sharp blade was still falling toward Minyoung. He just watched with a smug look and a slight smirk. "Shut up and enjoy the show while your sister gets gutted. That's the price for defying me." At that moment, the sharp point of the knife appeared, aiming straight for the little girl. As it plummeted down, seeing this, Minho's eyes widened and he screamed, "No!" Suddenly, a massive surge of power erupted from his hands. Then Minho immediately swung his arm back. Next, he thrust his hand forward, and while shouting loudly, he fired a powerful energy blast straight at Dongjin. He just turned his head back and watched the attack about to hit him with a slightly surprised expression. And then Dongjin's entire body was lifted up by Minho's power. Minyoung, on the ground, looked up with a completely shocked expression, mixed with a bit of fear. He was completely restrained by this energy flow. His brow furrowed as he gritted his teeth and questioned, "What the hell is this?" Minho had now jumped to the ground and was moving forward step by step. His entire body at this moment was surrounded by a powerful flow of energy. His hand was still maintaining the power. The little girl saw this, broke out in a sweat and stammered, Minho. His hand was still maintaining the power. The little girl saw this, broke out in a sweat and stammered, Minho. Dongjin, who was being restrained, glared angrily and growled, "You bastard." Suddenly, someone from out of nowhere was thrown towards Minho from the side. He seemed to sense it, and immediately turned his eyes to look to the side, and then Minho quickly put out his other hand and stopped the person. Dongjin saw this and thought to himself in shock, what he blocked it. His eyes were slowly closing, and as he gradually lost consciousness, his train of thought continued. "No way." Meanwhile, Minho frowned coldly and said in a low voice, "Get lost." And then a loud sound echoed. Dongjin's entire body was thrown forward forcefully by him. Immediately, Dongjin's entire body slammed down hard and skidded a long way across the floor. After being hit with such a powerful impact, he inevitably lost consciousness, his eyes squeezed shut. At the same time, Minho, after delivering the blow, stood there breathing heavily, panting with exhaustion. Then, with a shocked expression, he looked at the power in his own hands and wondered to himself, "Did I win? What is this? Since when did I—" Suddenly, Minyoung's voice called out, "Minho." Hearing that, Minho was startled and looked up Minyoung. The next moment, he asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" He saw the little girl's face teary and on the verge of crying, looking up. Seeing that, Minho hugged Minyoung and called out, "Minho." Minyoung was also scared and crying loudly. Scene changes to a room with cats. I just hear the conversation of two people. It's already started. This time I'll handle it myself. The plan, just the old honey trap. Finally, an image of Haeun sitting in a chair appears. The other person's voice, sounding worried, continued to echo. "An accident." "What accident?" The other person calmly replied, "Oh, that. Just a small problem. But they won't be waking up. I'll deal with it later." The white cat nuzzled its head against her leg. The other two didn't stop. "Stop nagging!" All right, I get it. Hello, I'm losing the signal." In front of Haeun sitting in the chair, the scene outside was a torrential downpour. That voice continued, "They've been upgraded a little. Just a tiny bit." At the same time, the corners of her lips curved up slightly. The voice continued. It should have been over by now. And then the scene of Dongjin, lying on the ground in the pouring rain, appears. At the same time, in a corner, Sungmin was pinning Yujin against the wall. And then he looked at her and smirked arrogantly. "Be honest, you came here because you miss me, right? You're so cute. So are we back together?" Hearing that, Yujin coldly threatened, "Are you kidding me? Want to see the bruises you left? Let's end this here, before I tell the whole class you hit me." Sungmin, hearing these words, raised his fist angrily and glared, shouting back, "You're the one who forces me to do it. I hit you because you keep driving me crazy." She glanced at his hand and growled, "Go ahead, try it. I swear I won't let it go." Just then Sungmin smirked mockingly and said in a provocative tone, "So scary. What are you gonna do to me?" Suddenly a loud sound echoed through the quiet space. Then Yujin is seen clutching her stomach, groaning, and he yelled angrily, "Who do you think you're threatening, you little bitch?" At the same time, Sungmin raised his hand and immediately grabbed a handful of Yujin's hair. Then he pushed her to the ground and yelled, "You think I'd let you go?" Next, Sungmin glared, frowned, and stated loudly, "You'll never get away from me." Got it. Yujin didn't say anything more, but just reached back and pulled the hood over her head. Next, she pulled the zipper up. Sungmin, seeing the trembling figure in front of him, rolled his eyes with a very annoyed expression. "Hey, are you crying?" Getting no response, he reached out and touched her shoulder, calling out, "Hey!" At the same time, Yujin, with her face completely covered by the hood, slightly turned her head back to look at Sungmin. Her eyes were now glowing with killing intent, as she stared straight at him. Seeing this, he couldn't help but break out in a sweat, startled and terrified. Immediately, the space around Sungmin was suddenly enveloped in an eerie purple color. He looked up, sweating profusely and thinking to himself, What is this? I can't breathe. No, I can't take it anymore. It feels like I'm about to die. His pupils rolled back in his head, and Sungmin thought in terror, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Suddenly, he started crying and screaming. You could only hear the screams of Sungmin echoing throughout the stairwell. In front of Yujin was the sight of him strangling himself, writhing in agony. And then she made her demand in a low voice, Swear that you'll stay away from me. Sungmin, still convulsing on the ground, screamed in fear. Okay, I swear, just don't kill me, please. Tears and snot streamed down his face as he begged in fear, Please, I'm dying. Suddenly, Yujin's pupils constricted, and the energy radiating from her grew even stronger. Sungmin was affected by that power, and trembled uncontrollably in pain. But then he couldn't hold on any longer, and immediately went limp. After that, Yujin took off her hood, revealing her sweat-drenched face. Next, she collapsed to the ground, exhausted, and muttered to herself, I'm still not used to this energy wave. At the same time, a mysterious person entered and spoke. He's still alive, is this really enough? Then that person questioned, Why didn't you just finish him? Hearing that, Yujin immediately replied, Is that something an admin should say? Besides, I can't harm people with my powers. And then the girl pushed her hair back, slightly sweating as she spoke. I think this is enough. Hope to never see you again, you piece of trash. Cut to an abandoned building. Minho and Minyoung are seen walking out together. Suddenly, the girl spoke hesitantly. I thought he was your friend. He also spoke softly. I'm sorry this happened to you. Then Minyoung asked hesitantly, Minho, what was that just now? What did you do to him? Was that a special ability? Hearing that, Minho replied in a low voice, It's a long story. I'll tell you later. Next, he suggested, Let's go home before he wakes up. The girl obediently replied, Okay. And at the same time, Minho looked up and wondered worriedly to himself, Is it okay to just leave him like this? But then he thought, No, he crossed the line. The rain still hadn't let up. And then Minho, with a sharp, cold gaze, affirmed to himself, That murderer, I won't let him walk all over me anymore. After a while, the rain stopped. The sky was now gradually clearing up after a heavy downpour. Dongjin eventually woke up and was able to stand. He was trying to suppress his anger, gritting his teeth and cursing in his mind, Kang Minho, you son of a bitch. The next moment, Dongjin immediately shot off with great speed. From up high, he looked down at the cityscape below. And then Dongjin glared angrily and thought, Time loop my ass, you can all go to hell. He seemed to have lost control, cursing endlessly in his mind. I'll kill everyone. Rewinding time or whatever, I don't give a fuck anymore. Let's see who wins for good. Scene change. An image of a blue bus is shown moving along a busy route. The people inside the bus were shaking constantly as the bus moved. A girl saw a pregnant woman standing and looked up, offering, Would you like to sit down, ma'am? The woman heard this and hesitated. Thank you, you're so kind. At the same time, the driver steering the bus was suddenly startled by the sight before him. It was Dongjin, standing alone right in front of the bus, which was speeding towards him. The driver immediately swerved to the side to avoid hitting him. The people on the bus were terrified by this sudden action and screamed. Fortunately, the sudden swerve didn't injure anyone, and the consequences weren't severe. The driver put his hand to his forehead and glanced over, yelling, What's wrong with you? Dongjin, with dried blood on his forehead, just stood there frowning unhappily. Suddenly, the entire bus was lifted straight up by an invisible force. Everyone inside the bus was thrown from their seats and screamed in terror. And the blue bus was still being lifted higher and higher. On the street below, there was a line of cars moving one after another. The sound of honking cars echoed relentlessly. At the same time, an image of Dongjin appeared. With a cold expression, he decisively raised his hand. Immediately, all the moving vehicles followed suit and flew chaotically into the air. The pedestrians, who saw this scene, pulled out their phones to film, wondering in amazement. Look, what is that? Are they promoting a new car? Record it quick. But it seems he had no intention of stopping. He glanced over and raised his other hand towards them. After a small gesture, everyone's feet lifted off the ground. Next, they were all lifted up by that invisible force, high into the air. Dongjin, with an angry expression, glared and screamed in his mind. It'd be faster to kill me than to stop me, because I'm not stopping. In the mid-air, you could see the sight of all the vehicles, and all the people just floating there. Most people being lifted up like this broke into a sweat, showing fear mixed with a bit of surprise. Suddenly, he swung his arm down forcefully. The vehicles and the people followed suit, and immediately fell straight to the ground. You could hear loud noises as the vehicles crashed down, echoing relentlessly. The people also fell down at the same time. Blood splattered everywhere. But Dongjin just stood there calmly. His face, as he witnessed everything he had just caused, showed not a hint of remorse. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed through the space. Dongjin's face was also gradually becoming blurry. At the same time, an image of a car appeared, crashing straight into a nearby building. Beside it was another vehicle and a girl, still being thrown forcefully to the side by an invisible force. Sweat was pouring down his face like a river. Along with that were heavy, exhausted pants. Suddenly, a loud car horn blared. The people below, seeing the cars falling, ran and screamed in terror. And then all the vehicles crashed down, creating a loud noise and a very chaotic scene. After using his power, Dongjin frowned slightly, breathing with difficulty. Then he raised his hand to his nose and wiped away the fresh blood that had started to flow. The car horns blared once again, making the scene even more chaotic. Scene change. Dongjin had now quickly teleported to another place. The sound of his heavy, exhausted breathing still echoed in the space. At the same time, drops of red blood were falling to the ground. He gasped for air, trembling as he thought to himself, "Damn it, I'm exhausted. This isn't good. No, I can't stop. I have to keep going until he shows up." Right at this moment, an image of two people standing in the distance appears, observing Dongjin's condition. Then, Hoseok looked towards Dongjin and wondered curiously. He finally stopped. "How many times has it been now?" The mysterious person holding an umbrella next to him calmly replied, "The 33rd loop." Hearing that, he looked a little confused. Doesn't he realize he's just torturing himself? At the same time, two people approached. Yujin looked at them and said, "Hoseok, hey." He also turned his head and smiled. "Hey, Yujin, I thought you'd be here sooner." Hearing that, she smiled lightly and explained, "No, I had to take care of something." Hearing this, Hoseok immediately asked, "You mean your boyfriend?" The hooded figure suddenly questioned, "Why are you bringing that up?" Hearing that, Hoseok broke out in a sweat and forced a smile. Was I not supposed to? Yujin next to him had turned pale. The next moment she asked, "The time loop is happening again, isn't it?" Hearing that, he quickly replied, "Yeah, but it stopped for now. Why don't the higher-ups recruit him? I feel sorry for the guy." Hoseok continued, "I heard that in another universe they were destroyed when they recruited him, without any countermeasures." A voice chimed in at the same time. "So now is not the time." Suddenly, the mysterious person with the umbrella pointed forward and shouted in shock, "No, that's an interdimensional intrusion." In front of the four of them right now was the scene of a red space gradually appearing. Hoseok was seen taking off his jacket, and at the same time shouting, "We have to act now. Take him down before he gets exposed to the intruder." Yujin next to him heard this and replied grimly, "Got it." Then she reached up and pulled the zipper of her outer jacket to cover her face. Suddenly, the sound of a beating heart echoed, accompanied by Yujin's breathing. Inside the hood, she squinted with an uncomfortable expression. From the opening of the jacket, a dark energy began to emanate. At the same time, Dongjin was collapsed on the ground, trying to resist that power screaming. He was sweating profusely, glaring and gritting his teeth, wondering in his mind, "What is this pressure? Is it him?" Dongjin kept screaming in extreme pain. Yujin on her side trembled in fear and said, "I can't. What should I do?" He's resisting. The people behind her, hearing that, shouted encouragement, "You can do it. Come on." And the girl continued to try with all her might. As he saw the power growing stronger, he frowned and bit his lip, thinking, "Damn it, it's a type of mental attack. I have to endure it." But then Dongjin couldn't hold on any longer and immediately collapsed. Hoseok saw this and quickly turned to urge, "He's down, let's go. Hurry up." The sky had now turned a deep blue. At the same time, Dongjin was startled and slowly opened his eyes. Then he stepped forward, thinking, "When did I pass out? I don't remember. I acted out and destroyed everything, and nothing changed." Next, Dongjin narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, "This must be my limit. How pathetic." He lifted his leg slightly and wondered in confusion, "What's wrong with my leg? It didn't hurt before. Did I get hurt when I fought him?" And then Dongjin frowned, gritted his teeth, and said to himself, "Kang Minho." Scene changed to morning at school. A fight is taking place on the rooftop. At the same time, someone approached and said, "That fun thing you mentioned was pushing Hyunchin off the rooftop." Next, that person questioned sternly, "Don't you think that's going too far?" What if someone died? In response was just Dongjin's cold face. Gangnam, with a disappointed expression, said hesitantly, "I used to think you at least valued human life." After hearing these words, he couldn't help but clutch his stomach and burst out laughing with delight. The laughter didn't stop but grew even more amused. In contrast was the guy's slightly resentful expression. Then Dongjin spoke up, "You're so wrong about me. Stop wasting my time and get lost." He looked up with his sharp, cold eyes and threatened in a low voice, "Unless you want to die." After hearing these words, Gangnam frowned, gritting his teeth in anger, but didn't say another word. And then the guy yelled in frustration, "Fine. It's my fault for thinking we were friends." After saying that, Gangnam decisively turned and left without looking back. At the same time, Haeun stood in the distance, wondering curiously, they had a fight. How pitiful. Why not just tell him you didn't do it? And then she smirked confidently and declared, "And now it's my turn to appear." After that, Haeun approached Dongjin and sat down next to him. Next, she pushed her hair back slightly, glanced over at him, and spoke softly. Dongjin, remember me. I just transferred here 2 days ago. Next, she introduced herself. I'm Song Haeun. But he didn't even care and got up to leave. Seeing this, Haeun warned in a low voice, if you just walk away without a word, you'll regret it. Look, I've discovered your little secret. Dongjin, hearing this slowly, turned his head back to look at her. He saw Haeun holding up her phone and saying casually, see this, I took it myself. There's plenty more. And then she pointed to the video on the screen and smiled slightly. This one and this one too. Want to see more? I even have a video. Suddenly, the phone in Haeun's hand was knocked away by an invisible force. It immediately slammed into the wall, next to them with a loud crash. Seeing this, she was stunned, looking quite surprised. Dongjin just glanced at it. Next, Haeun sat down on the bench. He was still standing there, not moving. Haeun then broke the silence. Good thing I already backed it up online. Then she laughed and declared confidently, it'll automatically upload to MeTube and Facebook, guaranteed to go viral. Are you okay with the whole world knowing who you are? Suddenly, Dongjin raised his hand towards Haeun and started to use his power. The crutch in his other hand quickly fell to the ground with a loud thud. Dongjin, having lost his support, gradually lost his balance and started to fall backwards. Haeun quickly caught him and warned, be careful. The next moment she looked up and asked, are you okay? But not only did he not answer, he pushed her away so hard that Haeun fell to the ground. Seeing that, she asked in confusion, why did you push me like that? Then Haeun dusted off her clothes and exclaimed, ouch, that hurt. Next, she picked up the crutch and offered it to Dongjin. But then Haeun waved her other hand and said excitedly, why do you even need a crutch? You have superpowers. If it were me, I'd be flying around. Pew pew. He saw her actions and shouted angrily, shut up, delete all those files now, or I'll kill you. In response to Dongjin was Haeun's calm expression. At the same time, Haeun gently reminded him, go ahead and try it if you want, but you'll definitely regret it. I advise you to think carefully. He snatched the crutch and clicked his tongue in annoyance, questioning, what do you want from me? Haeun was seen looking up at Dongjin and bursting into a mischievous laugh. Next is a scene of the two of them flying through the air. With a thrilled expression, she spread her arms out and exclaimed, this is amazing. Then Haeun exclaimed excitedly, look, the cars are so tiny, I can even see my apartment building. And then she remarked in amazed excitement, so, this is what it's like to fly. So cool. Haeun still had a thrilled expression and suggested, can you fly higher? Let's go higher. Can we? Higher, higher. In contrast to Haeun was Dongjin's extremely bored expression. But he went along with her request and shot her straight up into the sky. Haeun, experiencing this sensation, laughed with an excited expression. He still maintained his cold expression. At this point, Dongjin had taken Haeun up so high that it seemed like they could see the entire city below. Her eyes widened in amazement, and she cheerfully suggested, we're above the clouds. Above the clouds, Dongjin. I want to try skydiving. Drop me and then catch me, okay? Hurry, hurry! Hearing that he didn't hesitate for a second and let go of Haeun, she was seen falling from up high with an excited expression. Haeun just kept falling through the layers of clouds and plummeting at a dizzying speed. She was now falling close to the city. And then Haeun turned her head back and shouted for Dongjin. That's enough, catch me now. But in front of her there was no sign of Dongjin. Seeing that, Haeun screamed in terror, where did you go? Oh my god! Haeun was still falling straight down from the sky. Her entire body was about to slam into the ground below. In front of her was the sight of Haeun still in freefall from high above. Her face was now about to hit the ground below with great force. But Dongjin immediately appeared and carried Haeun straight up into the air. He glanced at her frightened face and thought to himself she passed out. Dongjin's face suddenly turned pensive. Perhaps it was because he saw the tears streaming from the corners of Haeun's eyes. And then Dongjin rolled his eyes in annoyance and complained to himself, what a pain. I don't have time for this. Next, with her in his arms, he quickly shot off. Scene change. The two of them had landed in front of a billboard on a building. Haeun was still lying there unconscious. Dongjin sat there without saying anything. The expression on his face now revealed a murderous intent. Then Dongjin recalled his battle with Minho. First, the scene of him with that immense power in his hands. Second, the scene of Minho launching his attack straight ahead. Third, the scene of himself being restrained by that energy. Fourth, the expression and the flow of energy around Minho. The more Dongjin thought about it, the more furious he became. The energy correspondingly radiated throughout his body. He couldn't control it, and it immediately erupted, causing the billboard screen above to crack. You could hear the sounds and the small shards of glass falling down. Haeun heard the noise and quickly sat up, asking, what's going on? Dongjin didn't answer and immediately demanded in a low voice, I did what you asked. Now delete the pictures. Suddenly she covered her face with her hands, looking scared. You're terrible. Do you know how scared I was? I really thought I was going to die. Haeun continued. I don't have any close friends here either. At the same time, a powerful energy began to radiate from his hand. And then Dongjin glared and yelled right in Heian's face. "Shut up, so what?" Suddenly she threw herself at him, looking pitiful. She cried out, "Dongjin, what do I do now?" Dongjin was stunned by this sudden action. But Heian just kept on complaining. "Why did they just leave me here? What kind of people value work more than their own child? How dare they call themselves parents?" Then she hesitated. "I hate that I still miss my mom." His face showed no emotion at all. With a sad look, Heian hesitantly confided in him. "They should at least come back for my birthday." Dongjin's hand was seen trembling slightly. Then he gently touched her back, as if to comfort her. Seeing his action, Heian involuntarily curved the corners of her lips into a smile. Next, she was seen putting a candle on top of a small, cute piece of cake. And then, while striking a match, she asked herself in confusion, "Why isn't it lighting?" Seeing Dongjin's lack of reaction, Heian looked up angrily. "I have to light my own candle on my birthday. Come here and sit down now." Hearing this, he turned his head and looked back with an icy expression. Then Dongjin frowned and made a demand. "Hurry up and eat, I bought you the cake. Remember to delete all the files as promised." Ignoring his words, she frowned slightly. "Don't rush me, I have to make a wish first." Next, Heian stated her wish in a serious tone. "God, please let Dongjin learn to value human life." She didn't stop there. "And become a good person who knows how to use his power to help others." After hearing these words, he frowned slightly. At the same time, the triangular piece of cake was suddenly yanked from her hand by something. This startled Heian, and she screamed. Next, she watched the cake fall and screamed in regret. "No, my cake." Because Heian had leaned over too far, she almost fell from that height. But Dongjin quickly reached out his hand and used his power to pull her back. Heian, in a state of levitation, looked at him sweating and hesitating. "I'm okay, thanks, Dongjin." Dongjin then threw her to the ground without a second thought. At the same time, he gritted his teeth, thinking uncomfortably to himself, "What a pain." Cut to another place, with some things stacked neatly in one place. Minho looked at his hand and frowned slightly. He said to himself, "What is this power?" Then his pupils lit up. In addition, his fluffy hair floated up. The power from Minho's hand also immediately erupted. The next moment, he held his hand forward and unleashed a powerful energy. With this power, Minho quickly lifted those wooden planks. He also winced at this moment, gritting his teeth as if he were trying his best to do something. And then, he squeezed the hard object in front of him tightly with his hand, like it was a piece of soft plastic. Next, Minho dropped the piece to the ground. The loud impact also echoed throughout the quiet space. Then he looked at the palm of his hand again. The next moment, Minho narrowed his eyes and said to himself, "Maybe this hidden ability awakened when I saved Minhyang." Minho then retracted his energy and wondered in confusion, "Did I have this kind of power inside me? I haven't even trained at all, and yet I suddenly got it." He wore a look of utter disbelief. All I could do before was just knock people out. So why now? And then Minho stood there bowing his head slightly and speaking in a low voice. "Could it be Dongjin's influence? It feels like I get stronger every time I meet him. But why?" Suddenly his eyes widened in surprise as he made a guess. "Could it be that someone is transferring power to me? Maybe it's the person with the time ability." Minho raised his hands in front of him again. Then he raised an eyebrow and wondered, if they're really a transcendent being, then sharing powers is also possible. Do they want me to stop Dongjin? Then he clenched his fists and spoke. "Yes, I can feel someone's will in this energy. It's like it's telling me to save people from Dongjin." At the same time, a mysterious person in a yellow coat stood nearby. Hearing these words, they let out a small laugh. Heian, with her hair blowing in the wind, excitedly affirmed, "This puppet is pretty funny." "Free will, huh?" "That's right, you have been chosen." Heian and Dongjin stood together on the wall. She looked up at him and said, "Thanks for saving me earlier." Heian seemed to be speaking her mind. "You're not like I thought you were. I thought you were a bad person because you bully people at school." Dongjin glanced at her as she continued, "But you're actually pretty kind. How did you get your powers?" Dongjin absent-mindedly looked ahead. "I had an accident in the mountains when I was a kid. Ever since then, don't ask any more questions." Heian leaned back and asked, "Have you ever used your powers for good?" The response was silence. She nodded. "Probably not, huh?" Then she turned to look up at him. "Are you seeing anyone?" Dongjin still didn't answer. She giggled, "No, right?" Dongjin coldly bowed his head. "Stop talking nonsense and delete the file." She playfully kicked her feet and said, "Actually, I was lying about the backup." Dongjin was a little surprised. "What?" Heian nodded and explained, "It's on my computer." Then she made a suggestion. "Come to my house tomorrow. If you want to delete it, do it yourself." "Isn't that better?" The expression on Dongjin's face didn't change at all. "Now I have to go to your house. Are you kidding me?" Heian came up with a bunch of reasons. "You broke my phone. I almost kicked the bucket. This makes us even. Don't you think that's fair?" With that, she stood up. "It's the weekend. Come hang out with me. I'll cook. Let's have lunch together, okay?" However, Dongjin just coldly flew away. Haeun's voice echoed in his ears. Hey, come over tomorrow, remember? In a hidden corner, his face contorted as he bit his lip tightly. I can't stand her anymore. After I delete the file, I'll take care of her immediately. Haeun watched his figure disappear into the distance. She smiled meaningfully and said, See you tomorrow, Kim Dongjin. Someone appeared behind Haeun. So the girl is the key after all. The other person continued, but inviting him to your house wasn't part of the plan. But she didn't turn her head, her voice was flat and emotionless. Everything is ready. It'll be over tomorrow, don't worry. This time it will definitely succeed. That person asked again, Isn't it a bit early? The other person accepted Haeun's words. We'll see. In the small room, Minnie Yang was curled up in bed. I'm okay now. The little girl was slightly scared. I didn't even know you had those powers. You've been hiding it all this time, Minho replied from the other end of the line. Yeah, I'm sorry. The little girl asked another question. Can you heal Mom's leg? When Minho said that he probably couldn't, Minnie Yang was very sad. Then why didn't you save Dad? A hint of sadness flickered in his eyes. You were too young then and you didn't know anything about my powers. Minnie Yang's soft voice came from the phone. Oh, I see. Suddenly, Minnie Yang sat up. Minho, she asked hesitantly, can you help my friend? She broke up with her boyfriend because he was abusive, but he keeps following and bothering her. He even found her and beat her up today. Minho got angry after hearing the story. What a scumbag, dating violence in middle school. Unbelievable. Minnie Yang made a request. Can you scare him a little? He said loudly, a bit confused. Me the next day at the apartment building. The door suddenly burst open. Appearing in front of him was Dongjin's scowling face. Haeun, wearing an apron, ran out and asked loudly, You're here. Why did you break down the door? You could have just rung the bell. Anyway, come in, I just made some toast for you. It's my first time making it, so don't criticize it, okay? He let out a lazy sigh, uninterested. Delete. I'm leaving as soon as the file is gone. The door closed and only Haeun's voice could be heard. Why are you in such a hurry? Wait a minute. As he stepped inside, some cats meowed and came up to him. What's this? Dongjin tilted his head and asked, Hey, where's the computer? He scanned the room and thought to himself, I don't see anything here. Haeun didn't seem to care much. She handed him the freshly made piece of cake. It's done. Here, take it. Dongjin obediently took it while she said, Let me pour you some milk. Wait a sec. Dongjin continued to wait patiently. Where's the computer? She replied as if it were nothing important. The computer, I don't have one. A murderous glint appeared in his eyes. What? She replied casually. I just called you here to talk. Actually, there's no backup. The files on the phone were all of it. Holding a glass of milk, Haeun smiled apologetically. Sorry for lying, but I have something important to tell you. Let's talk while we eat. Here's your milk. Immediately after the plate with the cake was thrown against the wall, Haeun was also shoved hard by him. Haeun was pinned to the wall by him. She cried out in pain. Wait, listen to me. You're making a mistake. Dongjin's voice was low and cold. I don't care. I won't let you manipulate me anymore. Go kick the bucket. Her body trembled uncontrollably. A moment later, her whole body fell to the ground involuntarily. Dongjin walked towards Haeun's body. Suddenly, he felt something. The space was filled with pressure. He thought to himself, what is this? She definitely kicked the bucket. But the time loop, why isn't the loop happening? Dongjin looked at Haeun's motionless body on the floor. She showed no reaction at all, but something was making Dongjin worry. She definitely kicked the bucket. Why isn't the time loop happening? To be sure, he checked for a pulse on her neck. His state of mind became even more chaotic. Dongjin shook Haeun's body violently and said, Hey, wake up! His mood gradually turned to panic. What are you? Why isn't time rewinding? The only response was a cold silence. Dongjin's pupils contracted as he silently cursed, Damn it! Everything around him seemed to collapse. No way! Are you the one with the time ability? But she kicked the bucket so easily. Damn it, what the hell is going on? Kang Min-ho, he might be able to fix this. Suddenly, a white cat rubbed against his leg. It looked up with its two different colored eyes and meowed. Dongjin glanced at it and thought to himself, Damn it. He quickly flipped Haeun over. Wake up! Wake up! Then he started chest compressions, trying to perform CPR on her. Dongjin yelled with all his might, Wake up! Wake up, tell me what's going on. The only response was a limp body. Dongjin was helpless, as if he had hit rock bottom. Wake up! As his heavy breathing echoed, Dongjin's eyes shot open in horror. He slammed his fist on the ground. He could only scream in desperation, Damn it! A moment later, the room had fallen silent. Dongjin started blaming himself. I shouldn't have dealt with her so soon. Why did this happen? Either she's the one with the time ability, or she's not human, damn it! I don't know anything. His eyes fell as he wondered to himself, what should I do with the body? When the door of the house was opened by someone, two people walked in. They were other clones of Haeun. Dongjin unconsciously glanced at the door. Haeun put her hands in her pockets, her voice extremely annoyed. I knew this would happen. The Heian next to her pulled down her hood. I told you it was too soon. Now look what you've done. We're going to get called up and reprimanded by the council again. Another person walked out from the room as she spoke. You should take responsibility and report it. Heian smiled reassuringly at them. Don't worry. This is a great success. Dongjin couldn't hide his shock. What is that? Looking at the familiar face, he wondered Song Haeyun. Then Dongjin had to look at the cold body on the floor again. He fell into a deep crisis. Then who is this person? What's going on? Heian questioned. You call this a success? The girl showed a confident look and replied, Nothing has changed. Everything is exactly as I predicted. The Heian next to her asked confusedly, What are you talking about? Then what's the meaning of this? Enough, just reset it. But this time the girl stopped that intention. No, he just tried to save someone. And for the first time he regretted taking someone out. Have you ever seen that before? Heian heard this and thought it made sense. No, this is a first. He frowned a little surprised. Now that you mention it, it's true. Heian smiled meaningfully. Whatever his intentions were, he's the first one. We've finally found the inflection point of the curve. At this moment, Dongjin erupted with angry energy. Who are you people? Explain what's going on. Even the three Heian clones looked at him in unison. One of them approached face to face with Dongjin. Then she threw a punch in his face to snap him out of it. Dongjin gritted his teeth and questioned, What the hell are you guys doing? Heian pointed at him with an accusation. You took me out. Dongjin was so stunned he almost fell over. That was you? The girl bluntly scolded him. That's right, you idiot. He looked stunned, losing all his cool. What the hell? Heian frowned with a bit of sympathy. You looked pretty desperate just now. Were you sad because I kicked the bucket? Dongjin gave her a cold look. A bright light flashed in Heian's eyes. Dongjin was too angry to speak. There's something I don't understand about you. Tell me right now what's going on. At this point, the girl began to introduce herself. All right. First, let us introduce ourselves. The Heian wearing a mask revealed her face, and the one with glasses took them off. Dongjin was stunned because they looked exactly the same. Both of them waved hello together. Nice to meet you. I'm Song Heian. The space around Dongjin seemed to buzz. He froze for a moment. Then the corners of his lips curved into a smile. His hands dropped limply as he thought to himself, At least I can be sure that she's not human. A gust of wind blew, making his clothes flutter. Veins popped out on Dongjin's face. So the person with the time ability has finally appeared. The surrounding glass suddenly shattered. It turned into a weapon that Dongjin held in his hand. Despite this, the three Heians didn't react at all. The girl suddenly spoke up. Hey, wait, calm down first. Don't go crazy like before. I told you I have something to tell you. The Heian behind her frowned and explained, I'm really not the person with the time ability that you're looking for. Ignoring those words, Dongjin's mood grew even worse. Heian smiled and said, Don't be disappointed so quickly. The one next to her offered an idea. We have a very attractive offer. The girl also added words to gain his trust. Kim Dongjin. The biggest problem for a self-proclaimed villain is the time loop. Heian showed a confident smile. We know how to escape that time loop. This hit a nerve with Dongjin. What? Of course we're not telling you for free. We need your help in return. One of the girls smiled as if trying to soothe his anger. We can't go into details right now, but we've decided that you're the right person for the job. And you've proven it yourself. Dongjin was still suspicious. Did I agree to this? I never helped you people. The girl stepped forward to explain everything. We've seen enough to confirm your potential. We have high hopes for you. Dongjin's eyes narrowed, his tone cold. What if I say no? He crossed his arms and tilted his head. Then you'll never know. And you'll be stuck in that time loop forever. Dongjin refused bluntly. I don't like it. If you want to persuade me this way, then forget it. I have no intention of helping you people either. The shards of glass hanging over the three people's heads. Tell me how to do it. Otherwise, I'll take you all out. Heian remained calm. Sorry, but we can't right now. Dongjin smirked disdainfully. Then there's only one thing I can say. His pupils contracted as he growled from his throat, Go meet your maker. Instantly, the broken glass shards gathered in one place. A line aimed straight at Heian and rushed forward. He saw them all pass through and get covered in a thick liquid. All three clones collapsed. Dongjin looked at them coldly. He walked step by step towards the spreading liquid, thinking to himself, Just as I thought. Taking them out doesn't send me back in time. Dongjin roared in a fit of rage. Come out. Whether you're a god or a human, I'll take your life. Come out. The room door opened again. Who are you yelling at? Dongjin frowned and followed the source of the voice. It was Heian's green hair again. But this time they appeared very strangely. This made Dongjin's eyes widen as much as possible. Then he turned away in embarrassment. Heian smiled as if programmed to. If it makes you feel better, then you can take us out as many times as you want. He reminded them we have plenty of copies. Seeing that they were all naked, Dongjin didn't dare to look back. What are you guys? The girl representing all three explained, "The person you flew with and the people you took out are all Song Haeun. We are also Song Haeun." The ajar door revealed all the clones inside the room. "We are separate individuals, but we share memories with each other. At school, a guy fell from the rooftop right. Elsewhere, Hyun Cheon was sitting and having a smoke. He suddenly burst out laughing. Was that you? New Year. Why are you so late? You want to meet your maker?" A light from ahead made Hyun Cheon frown. His body trembled violently. "Holy crap! What are you guys?" Footsteps tapped lightly on the floor. The person in the lead was Haeun returning to Dongjin. Haeun revealed, "That was us. I told them to wait at school while I looked for the house." The Haeun next to her quickly added, "But it happened while I was leaving them." The girl laughed out loud after hearing that. "I didn't expect him to fall like that. He'll wake up soon as if nothing happened." Haeun walked over and lightly touched Dongjin's shoulder. "Dongjin, do you want to know who we are?" The girl looked at him with trust. "Then help us. You have nothing to lose here. This is your chance to escape the time loop." On a clear morning, the clouds were blue, at the railing of a towering rooftop. 600 million won in damages, because it's my fault. The young man Han-jun fell into a deep crisis. Just the other day she said she liked me. Now she's turned her back on me. Manager Park, he forced me to do it. The guy couldn't think of anything positive anymore. I'm tired of it all. I'm exhausted. Maybe I should just jump. No, I'm not going down alone. You bastards! A bright red light shot down from the sky. It landed on Han-jun's head. He nodded as if he had turned into a different person. The whole building was suddenly outlined. In a flash, it turned into a box that covered it. Han-jun's hair blew lightly in the wind. His state had completely changed. In its place was a twisted smile. "I will grant you what you desire." Back to Dongjin. Haeun was persuading him. "So help us. You have nothing to lose here. This is your chance to escape the time loop." Dongjin asked suspiciously, "What do you want me to do?" The girl patted his back reassuringly. "Something you might even like. Just you wait." Haeun asked again to confirm, "So you agree, right?" Dongjin reluctantly nodded. "All right, I get it. Put some clothes on. It's making me uncomfortable looking at you like this." All three of them clapped in celebration. "You've made the right decision, Dongjin." A thought crossed his mind. There's no point in taking them out over and over again. For now, I have to wait and see what happens. I don't care, as long as I can get rid of the time loop. Haeun put her clothes back on and went to the window. The girl turned her head and called out, "Come here, Dongjin." Then she pointed in a direction and said, "Do you see anything over there?" He looked around. There's nothing, just some buildings. Haeun took out a box. "Hey, put these contact lenses in, no?" Dongjin stubbornly shook his head, refusing. No. The girl patiently persuaded him. "You have to wear them to see." He still stuck to his original opinion. "I don't know what it is, but no." But Haeun knew how to handle her prey. "Wait, are you scared to wear them?" The girl casually brushed Dongjin's hair back, revealing his forehead. "What are you doing?" One of the girls snapped irritably. "Hold still, you can't even put in your own contacts." "You idiot," Dongjin firmly resisted. "I've never had to use them. My eyes are fine." Haeun stubbornly did as she pleased. "Don't move. Look into the middle of my eyes. Don't blink." After Dongjin put them in, everything seemed to change. He blinked a few times. "This feels weird." At this point, Haeun made a request. "Now look over there again." In front of him was the building where Han-jun was. "You can see it now, right?" Haeun looked at him expectantly. "There's someone you need to take care of." Dongjin stared in that direction and asked, "Is that what you want me to do? Take someone out." The girl replied concisely with a bit of a hum, "Well, something like that. When you get there, you'll encounter a somewhat strange situation. Don't be too surprised." Inside the building, everything was quiet. Someone was bowing their head close to the ground. The other employees were kneeling. They held their hands up high as if giving a special signal. Han-jun sat arrogantly with his legs crossed over the crowd. Below, a trembling voice called out, "Please, Mr. Lee, please spare me. I'm pregnant. I just started this job yesterday. Can I go home?" He smirked with a cruel smile. "This is the problem with you humans. I already told you." Han-jun made a one-year signal and said, "I was going to let you all go if you just sat still, until I folded all 10 of my fingers. And of course, when you're about to meet your maker, you forget everything I said. All of you." A bald man raised his hand obsequiously. "Calm down, Mr. Lee. I only have one finger left to finish. At least I haven't personally attacked you like the others." "Right, what do you want?" "A promotion, a raise. Company shares, I'll give you everything if you let me go, okay?" He walked while sweating profusely. "That's right. What about my daughter?" Han-jun frowned in annoyance. "I've never been bald before." His last finger had to be folded down. He was shocked. "I have no chance left." The bald man gritted his teeth and trembled slightly. "You dare make fun of my hair." Immediately after, he fell to the ground. And so 2 people went to meet their maker together. A girl next to them panicked and called out, "Honey!" Her colleague's eyes widened. "Mr. Sang-do," she asked. "You knew about this, didn't you, Mina?" She grabbed a tuft of his hair and the wig fell off. She cried uncontrollably. He lied to me. Hanjun clapped his hands and laughed loudly. This is better than a comedy. It was a great idea to choose the folding ability. The people below bowed their heads slightly. This is a nightmare. I never thought I'd kick the bucket while playing a game. A young man shouted loudly, Mr. Lee! I can't bite the dust like this. He ran and hugged the guy's leg. I'm getting married this weekend. You know that, right? Please let me go. Hanjun smirked disdainfully. Right. You idiot, you still think I'm some pushover? His eyes blazed with a cold light. I'm going to finish all of you. You know why? Because you were all born to be cannon fodder. Right now, Dongjin and Heian are approaching a building. It's shrouded in a hazy orange aura, but no one else seems to notice. He and she both look up, studying this strange building. Dongjin asks irritably, what is this? Heian turns to him and calmly explains. It's called an intrusion space, a pocket of space-time created without permission, purely for killing and destruction. Your job is to deal with the intruders who are using this intrusion space. Dongjin listens intently, his expression grim. Out of everyone we've found, with supernatural abilities, you're the strongest. You'll take them down easily. Dongjin glances over annoyed. What the hell are you people and what are they? God's aliens, what? Heian looks up to answer. I can't tell you that right now. I'll tell you if you complete all your missions. Hearing this, Dongjin scoffs and says firmly, missions I'm only helping this one time. If I succeed, you tell me how to get out of this time loop. Like you promised. Heian silently holds out her hand as a sign of commitment. I know, no matter what you think, a promise is a promise. She orders, take my hand. Dongjin is surprised and scowls. Why? She chuckles softly. You need to hold my hand to get inside. Heian gestures toward a stranger. Watch that woman. The girl is engrossed in her phone as she walks. The orange dimension passes right through her. She doesn't notice a thing. Then she walks away without a problem. Heian continues to explain, see, normally you'd just pass right through it like that. Inside is another dimension. A copy. You can't get in without my help. But even I can't get in that easily. You can only see it because you're wearing those contact lenses. You can't touch it or walk into it. Heian pokes her hand at the dimension as she speaks. Dongjin coldly refuses, I get it. I have no idea what the hell is going on. As he finishes, Heian boldly grabs his hand and pulls him along. You'll see. Let's go. Dongjin unconsciously lets her pull him into the dimension. His eyes widen in surprise. His body parts are being sucked in like a magic trick. Then Dongjin's entire foot goes through. The two of them move quickly. Once inside the dimension, Dongjin feels a sudden wave of anxiety. What the hell? Heian warns him loudly. Don't let go. If you get lost in here, you'll never get out. Even as she pulls him along. Meanwhile, inside the building, people are scattered across the floor. Only one terrified man remains holding out his pinky finger. Hanjun cheerfully holds up 2 fingers and asks, Are you the only one left? The man's hand and voice tremble. Please let me go. The man doesn't listen, instead tilting his head back defiantly. Ready. Mr. Newlywed. The man then scrambles to his feet and runs for his life. Hanjun scoffs and lowers one finger with a cheerful look. I've never gotten married for money. Instantly, the man falls face first onto the floor with a painful thud. Hanjun waves goodbye. Bye-bye. Suddenly, he senses a strange presence approaching. He turns to look. The glass door behind him shatters into pieces, as if someone intentionally broke it. Hanjun stands up and stares blankly in that direction. You're here? It's a pleasure to meet you, administrators. Dongjin helps Heian land on the ground. Her eyes widen as she praises him. Wow, you've killed a lot of people. You wiped out an entire company. Impressive. But Hanjun isn't scared at all. In fact, he's amused. Thanks. Are you going to give us some kind of reward? Anyway, you guys don't have the right to punish us. How much longer are you going to interfere with us? What does it matter what we do in our own playground? Heian crosses her arms annoyed and tilts her head. Do you have any idea how busy I am because of you people erasing memories? Has its limits, you know. I guess you haven't heard that the punishment laws have changed. Hanjun laughs and wipes his mouth with his hand. The punishment laws have changed, huh? Is that other administrator going to step in? Heian confidently looks at Dongjin and introduces him. He's not an administrator. He's just a human. Hearing this, Hanjun covers his mouth, trying to hold back his laughter. A pathetic human is going to fight me. Heian warns him seriously, watch out. He's pretty strong. He pretends to nod in agreement. Is that so? All right then. Let's have some fun. Dongjin then gets into a fighting stance, without saying a word. Heian, standing beside them, speaks like a referee. The intruder has been approved. An intense aura of power surrounds him, and Dongjin's hair flies up in the wind. Hanjun suddenly feels nervous and breaks out in a sweat. A human with supernatural powers. Are you a human hero? He contemptuously holds out his hand. I'll fight you with just one finger. Hanjun chuckles as he looks at his opponent. It's a shame I can't play with heroes. I'm all out of fingers. They're all dead. You shouldn't have come so late. He then laughs, clutching his stomach. Ah, but don't be disappointed yet. I still have one finger left. I was saving it, but this one's special. I just have to bend it and you'll die instantly. Hanjin arrogantly commands, come on, human. But contrary to his expectations, Dongjin steps to the side. He summons the shards of broken glass from earlier, making them float in his hand. Hanjin laughs as he points his finger to the ground. Psychokinesis. Impressive. After that, Dongjin directs his hand toward him, sending the glass flying with great force. Hanjin laughs out loud. I was never a hero, but Dongjin's calm reaction and the flying glass confuse him. Hanjin looks on in a daze. The glass quickly and cleanly pierces through his tiny finger. A clean shot. Blood splatters everywhere like water. Hanjin instinctively stumbles back a few steps in pain. That bastard, he deliberately aimed only for my fingers. But he doesn't show any fear and deliberately remarks in a loud voice, so you're not what I thought you were. That's right, humans aren't worth helping. Humans are just toys we created. Hanjin laughs manically, his finger dripping with blood. Just for fun. This is my space. No matter how strong you are, you can't beat me here. Got it, you psychic brat bend. After speaking, Hanjin continues to act arrogant and lowers his finger to the ground. Dongjin stares and silently watches his opponent. The finger pointing at him is trembling more than before. Hanjin looks at it surprised. He doesn't understand why his power isn't working. He starts to get worried and wiggles his finger as if trying to find his power. Dongjin silently holds up 3 fingers towards Hanjin. He screams in terror. You damn brat, let me go bend. Hanjun gives orders in helpless frustration, which makes Haeun chuckle. Dongjin lets out a tired yawn and says, this is boring. He then quickly bends the man's finger upward. Hanjin screams in agony as his finger is bent in an unnatural way. Slowly, his entire body floats into the air. Hanjin looks down at the ground, surprised. He has no idea what's happening. Dongjin keeps lifting the man higher into the air, which terrifies Hanjin. He then snaps his fingers, causing his opponent's entire body to slam hard into the ceiling. Debris falls everywhere. Hanjin is stunned and terrified by this power. The pieces of debris suddenly stop mid-air and aim at him. Then, they all attack Hanjin at once with incredible speed. Hearing the terrible screams, Dongjin looks up to check on his opponent. Blood drips drop by drop onto the floor. Jun is seriously injured and stuck to the ceiling. As he slowly falls to the ground, Dongjin casually walks over. He sighs and says in a bored tone, this is so damn boring. Dongjin turns to his partner and orders, finish him. Haeun reacts with a blank look. We can't kill him. When we entered, we synchronized with the intrusion space, so we can't attack. Dongjin lets out a sharp breath. What a pain. At that moment, Hanjun laughs like a madman. You're making a mistake. A human siding with the council. You should have picked the right side. You lowlife? As he speaks, Jun raises another finger next to his injured one. I was never a... Haeun and Dongjin turn towards him in surprise. He holds up 2 fingers. Even though one is broken, it looks incredibly ridiculous. She instinctively shouts a warning, watch out! Hanjin flashes a demonic smile, his eyes filled with malice. Dongjin quickly realizes Hanjin is aiming at him, but he remains still. He turns his head and glares at the man. At that moment, the sound of Hanjun being beaten echoes in pain. He lies motionless on the ground, his whole body trembling. Hanjin looks up, staring at the sky with wide eyes. He lets out a loud, painful scream. In front of Dongjin is Yu, Jin in a red coat holding out her hands in a very strange way. She slowly turns her head to look at him, even though her body is completely covered. Dongjin thinks to himself, another one with psychic powers. This psychic attack reminds me of before. Dongjin glares with hatred and asks, can I kill that bastard too? Haeun runs over and holds him back. No, Dongjin! She's on our side. Focus on the intruder. Please, okay. She gets exhausted quickly, so you have to help her. Dongjin coldly ignores her. Let go of me. A cloaked man suddenly appears. That was almost a disaster. Be more careful. Hearing that, she laughs shyly. You're here. He crosses his arms behind his back and grumbles, hey, Dongjin. Don't you think you're being a little too relaxed? If it weren't for her, you'd be dead. Haeun immediately tries to calm the situation. Calm down, it's nothing. Suddenly, Yujin's whole body trembles. Hanjun angrily grits his teeth and lifts his head. You pathetic, insignificant humans. The cloaked man bluntly replies, that's right. That's why we asked for help from others. And the council has approved. Dongjin finish him. Hearing that, he mutters something under his breath. Hanjun cranes his neck and says his last words. Don't mess with me. Something's not right here. I've never heard of a human with superpowers. You damn administrators. The ground then begins to crack. A large rock slowly takes shape and is lifted up. It's Dongjin, using his inner strength to control the rock and aim it at Hanjun. He glares coldly and points at his enemy. The rock quickly hurtles towards Hanjun, while he lies motionless, unable to dodge. Stop, wait. He blinks, taking one last look at everything and screams, no! The rock quickly crushes Han, Jun without any hesitation. Blood flows from where he lay like a stream. At that moment, the intrusion space begins to collapse. The dimensions start to show cracks and glitches. The cloaked man looks up and observes. Space-time is starting to collapse. Since the intruder is dead, we can evacuate in half an hour. If we miss an intruder, what happened here will be reflected in reality. Yujin then falls to her knees, trembling and panting. The cloaked man gently helps her up. We'll go first. Your joining hasn't been confirmed yet, so we'll save the introductions for later. Let's go. Hang in there. Heian watches them go and smooths things over. Just let them go. I'll introduce you another time. Dongjin looks around and unconsciously speaks up. Hey, Heian, time didn't rewind. Is it because that guy wasn't human like you? She smiles brightly. Something like that. It's because time has temporarily stopped. No matter who you kill here, the time loop won't happen. I mean in the intrusion space. It's like a hunting ground for you. Hearing this, Dongjin glares silently, saying nothing. That evening at Minho's window, he stares down at the street as if planning something. Why is it so quiet? Did he give up? No, maybe I just didn't notice the time loop. I can't let my guard down. A text message from his sister appears on his phone. This is the guy I told you about, Class 83 Junmo Park. Minho looks closer, surprised. Junmo Park. Meanwhile, Junmo Park is in a car engrossed in a game, ignoring everyone. He casually asks, "What about that thing I asked you to do?" The driver replies coldly, "It's in that box." Junmo Park immediately turns his head and looks around. Where is it? He picks it up with glee and excitement. The object emits an electric spark, which makes Junmo Park even more excited. Perfect, good job. Don't tell my dad. The driver replies sternly, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But how do you plan to use this?" Junmo Park chuckles and looks away. Oh, it's Inho. He rolls down the car window and casually asks, "Where are you going?" Inho is with his gang and cheerfully replies, "Just came from tutoring." Nice, he jokes around. Does this punk want to get beaten by his dad again? If you don't study properly, you'll end up a failure like me. You idiot. After he says that, his friends burst out laughing. At the same time, after hearing what Heian said, Dongjin becomes more suspicious. A hunting ground. You mean I can only kill here? Is that how I end the time loop? Heian politely nods. Exactly, you can kill as many as you want. And we'll take care of the intruders, of course. You're not allowed to attack civilians. You might not like this deal, but it's better for you to cooperate. Only we can help you like this. Don't you think? And there are other clues we haven't told you about yet. Let's work together. After Dongjin agrees, she smiles happily. Dongjin lets out a long sigh and covers his face with his hands, looking extremely tired. So when are you going to tell me who you really are? Heian still seriously refuses. We can't tell you before you officially join. He scratches his messy hair in frustration. What's next? She gently steps away from Dongjin. You've proven your abilities. Heian then presses the down button for the elevator. She turns her head and explains, "It's time to meet the others with supernatural powers." Dongjin scowls in surprise and questions her. Others with supernatural powers. You mean there are more besides that girl? They then enter the elevator together without saying anything. Heian continues to explain. The number of humans with supernatural abilities is increasing. Someone from our side will start investigating soon. Anyway, that's not our job. There are 4 people with supernatural powers that I want to introduce you to. Dongjin continues to question her impatiently. How many people like that are there in total? She replies softly, 50 from what we know. His jaw drops in surprise. 50. Heian continues unfazed. They have something in common. They all have killed or nearly killed someone, and they are all stuck in a time loop just like you. Dongjin's eyes widen in shock. What, all of them? She looks up at him seriously. They have all experienced the loop, except for those who can't kill with their powers. We don't know why. The elevator then reaches the first floor and the doors slide open. Heian continues to look at her partner and talk nonstop. Maybe it's a tool to restrain the destructive instincts of superpowered people. We're still trying to figure out who's behind it. Hearing this, Dongjin freezes for a moment. I didn't expect there to be so many. It's also possible that the person with time powers is a human. Maybe I'll find out who has time powers if I kill them all. Thinking about it, his face becomes more sinister than ever. The problem is whether I can do it without getting caught. I'll have to pretend to cooperate and then kill them one by one. At that moment, Yujin has taken off her hood and is walking gently down a deserted street. She hears a meow and looks around. A stray cat. The meow gets louder and stranger, making Yujin suspicious. Why does it sound so strange? Is it hurt? It sounds like it's coming from this direction. The young girl follows the sound into a dead-end alley. A cat has its 4 paws tied tightly to a piece of paper and is crying pitifully. Yujin instinctively runs over and asks, "Is that you? What happened to you?" It's okay, don't move." Wait a minute, I'm sorry, hold still. But Yujin doesn't know that someone is waiting for her behind her back. She's still focused on untying the cat, getting frustrated. It seems like someone did this on purpose. Who could it be? Suddenly, Yujin glares and turns around. Huh, it's Junmo Park. He's looking down at her with a demonic smile. Yujin is so scared she stutters, Junmo Park, did you do this? She sees the taser and screams, hey, let it go! But it's too late. Yujin then lets out a loud scream before collapsing. She's curled up in a corner from the electric shock in front of Junmo Park. What the hell are you doing, you bastard? Yujin clutches her body in pain and curses at him. Junmo Park scowls and yells. What did you make me eat that day? Damn it, I thought I was gonna die. What the hell did you do? Yujin weakly pulls up the hood of her hoodie. But Junmo Park shocks her again and orders, answer me. Hey, are you having fun? Look at that furball, it's hilarious. Minho suddenly appears from behind him. Junmo Park. He turns around looking dazed. Who the hell are you? He doesn't answer and immediately orders, stop it. But contrary to what should have happened, Junmo Park tasers Minho. Yujin trembles as she stands up and pulls on her hoodie. No, I have to help. Junmo Park freezes, dazed. Huh, why isn't it working? Minho then grabs his hand tightly. He channels his inner strength, sending electricity coursing through his body, which makes Junmo Park scream in agony. If you ever bother. Yujin again, this won't be the end of it. He stammers in fear, begging, okay, I get it. Then, Minho lets go and Junmo Park collapses to the ground, clutching his hand. Fucking hurts. Yujin watches him warily. Suddenly, Junmo Park gets up and runs, avoiding Minho. He doesn't forget to turn back and threaten him. He's going to kill you. Just you wait, you bastard. Minho turns to watch him go, but says nothing. He asks with concern. Are you okay? Yujin looks annoyed. Minho. Minho immediately takes off his mask and asks her question after question. Yujin, are you okay? Are you hurt? She doesn't answer and just says a few words. Minho, it's really you. He suggests worriedly, can you stand up? Yujin slowly gets up and sighs. I'm fine, please help the cat first. Minho then quickly unties the cat next to her. As soon as it's free, the cat immediately runs off. Minho looks back at her annoyed and questions her. That punk is the ex-boyfriend who's still bothering you. And right. Yujin cheerfully takes off her hood. Did Minyoung tell you? He nods. Yeah. Aren't you going to call the police? She smiles brightly. No, it's fine. Minho raises his voice. What do you mean? This is serious. You should tell your parents. Yujin keeps refusing. Minho, I'm Yujin. I can take care of myself. He lets out a sharp breath. You still haven't changed at all, have you? She shouts back. What do you mean by that? They don't know that Junmo Park is secretly filming them from a distance. The two of them then walk home together. Yujin turns to question him. How did you know I was here? Minho shrugs. This is where I come when I want to be alone. She nods repeatedly. I see. So where did you learn that? Self-defense. Minho is silent for a long moment. Yeah, that's right. I learned it a while ago because I'm the only man in the house. But Yujin doesn't believe him and becomes even more suspicious. That was clearly a lightning-based superpower. So, is that why the taser didn't work on him? Meanwhile, Junmo Park watches the scene of the two of them leaving together annoyed. He grits his teeth and scowls. How do they know each other? Damn it, is that guy the reason you broke up with me? Junmo Park's face contorts with anger. I'll kill him! At that moment, at a bar with bright lights still on. Kim Woo shouts irritably at the server, Hey, where are the girls? Jongbin quickly chimes in, Are they here yet? A knock on the door echoes repeatedly. He jumps up. Looks like they're here. But the guy at the door quickly runs in, shouting, Boss, there are some bastards! Before he can finish, he gets hit from behind, on the back of the neck. It's Inho and his gang arrogantly walking in. Hello? Kim Woo shouts irritably, Who the hell are these bastards? Hey! Throw them out for me. Shanho pays no attention and casually grabs a beer bottle from the table. It's been a while since I had one of these. Kim Woo shouts in anger, Hey! Get them out of here now. Inho tilts his head enthusiastically. Are those your dogs rolling around on the floor? They're all fast asleep. Kim Jun now officially steps forward. Hey, you bastards, do you know who we are? Who sent you, but Inho's gang? Isn't scared and throws a beer bottle past his face. None of your business, you son of a bitch. Jongbin then stands up and points with a contemptuous look. What the hell do you think you're doing? Take that off. Who are you? He immediately gets a beer bottle to the face for his troubles. Jongbin then falls and hits his head against the wall. Kim Jun unconsciously watches his buddy bleed on the wall and says nothing. Kim Woo quickly pulls out a knife and charges forward. He raises his weapon and shouts, You disrespectful punks! But Inho's gang easily dodges the attack without any fear. Kim Woo glares back at them. Immediately, another guy raises a long metal pipe and prepares to attack. A loud thud echoes. Blood splatters out of the room. Kim Jun slowly makes an offer. What do you want? If it's money, I can give it to you. Inho then gently kneels down and picks up the knife. Money, we have more than enough. He sits there scared. Then what do you want? He stands in front of him, glaring down from above. Nothing. We just need you to die quietly. Hearing this, Kim Jun stammers, "Please let me go!" Without hesitation, he's killed on the spot. Blood splatters violently. After they're done, the gang runs off. The three of them hide in a park, out of the light, panting. Junwoo takes off his mask and asks worriedly, "Hey, is our safety guaranteed?" Inho smirks. "Politics can only exist because we take care of the dirty work behind the scenes. Those damn dogs. The money will come tomorrow, so just lie low for now." Hearing this, Chanho looks up at the sky happily. "Awesome, I'm gonna buy a new car." Inho suddenly looks at the phone in his hand. He answers the phone. "Yeah, what's up?" The person on the other end laughs and asks, "Bro, I need a favor." Inho's voice gets annoyed. "Did you cause trouble again?" Junmo Park immediately protests. "No, it's not me. I'll send a picture. You just need to take care of this guy for me." A picture of Minho is then quickly sent to him. Shanho and Junwoo unconsciously recognize him. "It's that bastard. It's the guy from before." Suddenly, Inho lets out a dark and twisted smile. "You're so dead, you bastard."